Hello and welcome to what we're now calling Titles and Troubles, a Dungeons and Dragons high-level, domain-level intrigue role-playing game. I am joined tonight by Josh. Hi, Josh.
Hello.
Who plays Ox, Dragonborn, Fighter, Chosen of Bahamut, Shitter on Doorsteps. I am also joined by Ben. Hi, Ben.
All right.
All right.
Who's
Changed his character name suddenly. His character voice suddenly.
playing Diego Darkblade, man about town, Count of Circazar, recently appointed, married to Tefeneka, Tough Neck, as she's sometimes not called by anybody who values their testicles belonging to
not
their
tough
body.
knackers.
You can see the Darkblade hat, one of the Darkblade hats. Diego, when he puts on the Darkblade hat, realizes it feels slightly warm, as if it's connected to the one that got burned in the Feywild. It's slightly uncomfortable. Do you know, like if you wear it too long, it like burns a little like red mark
This
in
is
your
the
head.
equivalent of heat metal.
Yeah, not quite as strong as that, but it's definitely kind of keeping the nonce warm. And also by
Great during
Martin,
winter.
who can't talk. I don't know. He's going to communicate exclusively in Paladinic sign language, which is kind of like thieves' cant, but more get that thief than let's be thieves.
More obvious.
Who plays Darian, Paladin about town. And if you've got any questions about how you should play Lawful Good, if you tweet Darian at Darian.
Oh, God.
Oh, I don't know what's happening there. It was probably some of your guys.
It's the alignment, please.
Yeah.
It's the alignment.
Going in. So last time on our game, the player characters attended the wedding of Diego Darkblade to his wife. His second wedding to his same wife without a divorce in between. Nobody's quite sure how that happens. Does she wear white or what?
The official wedding.
The official wedding, yeah. Kind of like the Queen, she has two weddings, not two birthdays. She has like a normal wedding and the official wedding. There's talk that it's a ruse to get additional kind of like wedding anniversary presents, and also Diego's ability to forget the date has just increased 100%.
Yeah.
But there we have that. And there was some rights to rumble at the wedding when Milady de Winter, Diego's nemesis, turned up wearing a set of pearls, possibly pearls from the crown jewels of Tethia that the player characters had failed to recover from the Queen of the Masquerade out in the Feywild. What could that mean? But it all went okay. But the biggest bombshell, the bombshell of bombshells, the numero uno bombshell was the relationship between Quinn and Neas of Tethia and Danilo Darkblade, uncle to Diego, and kind of big cheese back at the Darkblade family noble. There had been some history, some bad history. Some, you're barred from my kingdom, oh no, my nephew's going to let me into his little bit because he can do the rules there. Badness. And Diego sided with his uncle over the Queen. And that's how it happened. And then they all travelled down to Tethia. So we're now going to start the actual game. So you're all gathered. Combined forces are gathered in outside a little village called Green Nest, which lives right on the edge of the county of Circazar, right on the western edge, so closest to the centre of Tethia. And it's not especially large, there's a few hundred people live here, and it's very representative of the villages within the county. So the county is largely kind of pasture, it's largely kind of sheep farming, that kind of thing. If you think of really warm Yorkshire Dales, then you kind of get in there, so you get that kind of undulating country, kind of like narrow lanes. It's a little bit like the Shire, but the summer temperatures are in the 40s rather than the late 20s, and there's more vine yards and there's more olive stuff there. But by and large, it's kind of pasture with the grasslands that kind of like go up to the Omladrin Mountains. The Omladrin Mountains are foothills, really. They're not towering, snow-capped monoliths of rock, but they kind of dominate, the county. And there's this kind of undulating hills as it kind of goes up there. You've noticed, even as you've arrived here, that the infrastructure of the county isn't great. The roads are primarily dirt. You can imagine that with any amount of rain, they'll churn up quite quickly. But you gather in the village of Greennest. You're living in the castle in Greennest. There's a small keep there, which is maintained by Sheriff Greenhill, who's kind of essentially the local head cheese, one of the sheriffs that immediately swears fealty to the Count of Circazar, but kind of is a pre-incumbent and not appointed by Diego. And there's a small church to Chantia here as well, which is kind of like the main centre of the community by and large. This is a rural community, and you kind of quickly work out that the county is quite distributed in its rural population. A lot of people will live in small hamlets, maybe 10 families, and they'll then kind of have a local county town, which is more a village where they kind of bring their goods to the bigger market. And then Saradouche is the only city of any kind of recognition there. It used to be the place of the Royal Archive for Tethia, but that got moved to Daramar, and Saradouche is in decline. The county is in decline, actually, but Saradouche is in decline. To the north is Ariatavin and the county, the country of Arm. To the east is the Protectorate of Mintar and the Lake of Steam. A lot of trade comes through there. The oysters from the Lake of Steam are a delicacy, and that's quite a strong luxury trade that has to kind of come through the county to get to its markets in Kalimshan, through to Arm or through to the ports of Tethia to be shipped onwards. It's not very easy other ways to do that. And then you have the Kalimshites, the massive country of Kalimshan, very powerful country of Kalimshan to the south, which you all know its genesis was in Genes. It was a land where Genes kind of like roamed, but that was many, many years ago. So that's kind of where you're at. Tefanaka is bored shitless. She's prowling around. Kind of like a caged cat, which is by and large what she is. She kind of collars you kind of in the evening of the second night. Diego's, may I be excused to roam freely. I cannot stand this poxy little place. I want to feel the dirt beneath my claws. Maybe hunt some worthy game.
Now, when you say worthy game,
Yeah.
what or who are we talking about?
Yeah, that little situation was never quite resolved.
She looks at you slightly confused.
I said to her,
Game. Maybe a boar, maybe a bear. A bear would be worthy enemy. Perhaps you should come hunt with me, Diego. We haven't been able to enjoy each other's company under just canvas for
I think Diego would really enjoy that.
Lizards are the only worthy enemy.
She leans in closely. She kind of like purrs. Come, Diego. You do not need to. These duties, this discussion about how you enter this city. Enter it like the man you are, proud. And she grabs you, cups you, as you are becoming this very moment.
I'll ask for what would be my. Would be a squire. Be my valet to have someone saddle my horse.
Oh. just your horse, she says, pulling you by the shoulder.
What would you like, a saddle?
She said, I'm going to go ahead. I'll corner us a worthy opponent. And she kind of like scratches you slightly on the cheek and heads out. we have a certain merchant prince of Nyanzu is using his orb of what do they call them?
Brian?
It's like his palantir
Yeah.
Yeah.
to kind of to scry into what we're doing. We have Adran from afar gazing at what's happening over in Circazar.
Oh, is he watching?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wicked.
Awesome.
He's watching on the stream. Yo.
Hey, Dan.
Could we borrow some money, please? We got a keep that we need to uphold.
Need
Okay.
some merchant prince money.
You head out. You ride out through kind of the town, the village, out into the countryside. Tef has left a trail that even you can follow out there, and you find her in a small dell on a little enclosure. You've gone through, all of this land is managed. It's farmed, or it's not wilderness. Basically, you don't come across any kind of signs of monsters or anything like that. And Tef is in a bit of a huff. This is what you people do to the lands. You've taken away most of the fun. What am I to hunt here now? What am I to get my claws into? Is this what it's going to be like, Diego?
You get your claws into me.
She looks at you in a slightly chilling way, actually. She shows more of her predatory nature than you've kind of seen before. For a moment, it's kind of almost like there's a different creature underneath that face.
Oh, mine's face.
I'm just thinking it's going to be like fighting that descends into lovemaking now. Is that what's going to be happening?
And she kind of like prowls back, changes into a kind of tiger form, and the impressiveness of the tiger strikes you. The strength and the raw, well, the raw power. Actually, it's the ability just to recruit a substantial amount of strength and power just at a moment's thought. You can see it underneath the potential contained, and then she pounces and you see it released, and before you know, she's kind of like up on one of the branches. She looks down at you and she says, "I wonder how high we can get before we break." And she pounds, scrabbles up a little bit further.
I just strut up the tree.
She's now on like a bough, and she says, "I wonder how hard we can get before it breaks." And then the scene fades to black as you kind of fall. Make a dex save though for when it really starts to get going.
Oh.
Dex.
Oh, it's a dex save. Oh, great, because I don't think I can really fail these.
Oh, well, you say that now. Just don't roll that one.
Fighting talk.
If it's beat
Oh, yeah,
save,
I've got
I
to get
think.
my dice out as well.
Yeah, dice would be good.
So it's 21.
21. Okay, so the act commences with a normal level of ferocity, and it seems that the bow that was chosen is perhaps not whilst it's sufficient to bear the weight of two resting bodies, it's perhaps not sufficient to bear the weight of two pounding, let's say, bodies. And it breaks, and you tumble to the ground. You spin 2 or 3 times, but you kind of land in a kind of standing position. And I said, body adjusts to that, and then we continue the fade to black. But it's pretty good, let's just say.
Yeah. But she lands on her feet anyway.
She always.
This is your honeymoon, technically.
Always lands on her feet. And that kind of keeps her satisfied for a little while, I guess. The next day, the business of the day needs to occur. Chancellor Praxin is kind of there. Well, he's kind of there, but it takes him most of the morning to kind of make it across the threshold. It's only
How
a
long did it
small
take him
keep.
to get here?
Oh, he was travelling with you guys, wasn't he? So
Yeah, but
he
I
was-
imagine like he'd be on a horse that was like
No, he
equally
was-
decrepit. Then a horse is like.
Weirdly, he rides an undead horse, which is as old as he is. No, he was carried on like a litter.
No.
So the business. So there's two things. My lord, there's two things. Chancellor Praxin says, we need to think about your entrance into circus. Oh, I tell you, it's not good sleeping in a cold place like this. It's really giving my hemorrhoids a lot of grief. I wonder if Darian would help out with those. He might be able to lay on hands. It didn't help my back.
That's how his lay on hands works, practically.
It didn't work on my back, but maybe it'll work on my hemorrhoids. Anyway, I hadn't had a good rummage down there since my third wife died. And hold on a minute, let me get my notes. So we've got the Podesta of Saradouche coming as well. So the Podesta is the leader of the town council. He's the representative of the people in Saradouche. Now, one thing to bear in mind is that they really don't like the rural folk. So it'll all be about them, and you've got to balance your decisions because the economy is split between both the city and the rural folk. The merchants are urban, but the produce comes from the farmers. But they'll just be pressing an agenda that is just about the city, and I suspect that he'll be trying to see how far he can push you. He'll be testing your mettle a little bit. Now, I could do the negotiations for you. If you want. Oh, come on in, Ox. Come on in, Darian. I'm glad you're here, actually. Remind me to ask you about thrusting your hands in my pants to sort out my arse.
Look at Diego and be like, what?
And Darian's there with his bodyguards, March and Killeen. Kind of like, okay.
He can do it.
No, he's not a paladin. Anybody from the Dragonborn that you want to bring along with the Ox?
I'll bring my brother, Tulan.
Mm-hmm. So Ox towers, as anybody who's seen the artwork will know, towers in the same way that the impressiveness of Tef in tiger form. Ox is just imposing. Yeah, there's nothing else to describe it. Partly his physical height, partly just his girth. I've always wanted to use that word. Partly the armor, but also partly being an 11th level fighter. People will pay attention to him. Darian is less imposing, but still kind of carries a lot about him. You get a sense of the divine around him. The glow, the bits of dead raptor that he gets snagged on curtains every so often as he tries to move through the castle. It's not so great.
Where does Darian carry the sword? Is it by your side or like on your back?
No, it wouldn't be on my back.
On your side, yeah. Because I think it's quite an impressive sword. I think that would attract people's eyes.
Yeah, they're all like stuck on it. His enemy's eyes. Let's say, Darian, that your family are going to be coming separately because they had some matters that they needed to tie up before they were going to come through, and that they'll be travelling through a gate through the Order of the Gauntlet to Castle Ilksar.
Okay.
Undril is not with Darian.
Oh.
She is conspicuous by her absence. So they'll probably. I'm glad you guys are. Excuse me, are here, and I'd be happy to take these discussions for you, Diego. But they'll take it as a slight on the city, so it's probably best that you lead. And I agree, says Danilo Darkblade as he strides in, wearing his customary black leathers with his customary obsidian blaze to the side and his customary "I'm going to fucking rip your heart out and feed it to your sister via her vagina" look on her face. Because he's a nasty piece of fucking work. And actually, you've noticed in the last few occasions since the wedding, he's got a little bit harsher, a little bit sharper, a little bit more, you're doing it my fucking way. Nothing really you could hold him up about, but there's been a definite change in emphasis, I guess. Before it was all, yeah, what can I do for you, Ox? Not a problem, let me sort this out. He's gone through Edge Lord to Edge Master to Edge Pro is where he's at. Because in Kelly's world it goes Noob, Master, Pro.
So wait, he's actually... Diego's allowed him to come along?
Yeah,
yeah, Diego confirmed him as his Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Well, Darian's eyes bulge for a second, and then he just tries to play it cool.
I imagine Darian can't play it cool at all.
No, he's not really going to play it cool. So like the second Donald walks in, he's like...
He holds up a little card with "Play it cool" written on, and then reads it out loud.
Yeah.
Play it cool, Darian. It's like a little bit Homer. It's like Homer, brain, play it cool. Play it cool, Homer. That's exactly how it works. Dadalo kind of like looks at you. Okay, whatever. It's essentially his view. You all know that other than through the Protectorate of Mintar or through the country of Kalim Sham, Danilo must have either magically arrived here or he has broken the Queen's edict about being within the country of Tethia. Given that Tethia is strictly kind of at war with its neighbours, he either came through enemy territory or came through, broke the edict of the Queen.
He's got allies everywhere, I assume, that we don't know about.
Lies everywhere.
But then I would assume Diego would do the same as well. If Diego just showed up, I would assume, it's just Diego, it's just what he does. Then Danilo would do that.
No, but Danilo shows up, there's an agenda. Like,
Yeah.
this man is a walking agenda.
Diego just wants a good time.
Exactly.
I agree with Chancellor Praxton. Chancellor Praxton kind of like looks and goes, What have I said wrong? What have I said wrong? Agrees with me.
Reevaluate, yeah.
It's like, have I murdered anybody this morning? Did I eat human gizzard for dinner? And in fact...
Will I be murdered later?
And in fact, Diego... Count Sokazar, Your Grace, he says, I will make myself scarce a little in the next few days. I think I would perhaps take away from your opportunity to form a mutual and respectful relationship with the key councilmen and councilwomen of Saradouche. So I'll step into the background, as it's my favourite place, and I will just take a look at the finances of the county in more detail now that we're here. He kind of wanders over to one of the windows of the keep and gazes off towards the centre of Tethia and says, "Oh, how I long to be able to ride that road again, the road to Daramar, to visit the Queen. But alas, I, as a follower of all the laws and the instructions that have been provided to me, will not do that, will not put you, my great nephew, in a position of such difficulty." He smiles to himself. And so I'll bid you a good day.
Diego, he's definitely using his subtlety.
Diego's like, I have never ever seen that man smile. Ugh.
His smile,
he's losing his subtlety, though.
His smile reminds you of the smile that Tef had, that apex predator smile. He hasn't quite got the canines that a tiger has, but...
Yeah, but when she does that, it's sexy. When he does that...
We've brought a serial killer with us.
Yeah, he's been known to murder oats and
Every morning.
No, he has bacon with like Tabasco sauce on. That's like, oh no, maybe I think it's probably he has
roast badger.
Yes, roast badger. He has eggs Benedict. He has Benedict's eggs, just his balls.
Need to keep an eye on Donoro.
Note to self:
Yeah.
keep enemies close. What was it? Keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Be closer, yeah.
Okay.
Your family even closer.
Yeah.
Uh,
So that's kind of it. So you've got some opportunity to kind of think about and to plan out what you want to do. So as a kind of just like out of character note a little bit, we're calling it an intrigue game, but I think so far the intrigue has been done to you guys rather than you've been necessarily involved in the intriguing and driving your own agendas forward.
Yep.
And that was fun for me. I don't know about you guys, but it was fun for me. So now is the opportunity that you get to kind of like say, look, okay, this is how I want to shape my domain. This is what I want to get involved in. This is how I'm going to do this. This is the plans that I want to kind of progress. So you've got the domain downtime actions that you can kind of start to think about, but they're based upon some fiction as well as it's kind of like just choosing to do this role. So we have an opportunity to kind of think about how you're going to grow that. So at some point in the next few days, Ox, you're going to need to take your 500 followers and seat them in your lands, which are not that far from Green-Nest, actually. Maybe a day's walk for a group of that size. And Darren, you're going to want to kind of head down to the Castle of Ilkazar and kind of meet the Vindicator and start to kind of look at that domain that you're the Castellan for and so on. So give some kind of thought to that. So for anybody who hasn't particularly followed the previous episodes, Diego's the Count, Josh is the Marshal, but he has been tasked with finding and founding a kind of safe haven / nation for the Dragonborn of the Realms, or at least the good Dragonborn. The bad Dragonborn can go fuck themselves.
You're saying nation. This is on Diego's garden, pretty much.
Yeah, that's true.
Free real estate.
Yeah. And Darian is tasked with being the Castellan of Castle Ilkazar, which is one of the larger Order of the Gauntlet presences, and that jurisdiction resides upon the legal framework from the county and from Tethia. They don't have any legal presence or rights themselves, but they can enforce the laws. They're allowed to, they're like deputies, I guess, to the county. But that jurisdiction spans not just the county of Circazar, but it spans into an adjacent county, and it also spills across into the Protectorate of Mintar. So the Order of Gauntlet has sliced the world in a different kind of geography than the political makeup of Tethia is, and there's kind of like it overlaps essentially. So in theory, Darian has some responsibilities in the Protectorate of Mintar as well as within kind of Circazar as well as within a neighbouring county. And Darian, as the Hawk of Alamander, has nationwide right of high justice as the Queen's personal agent in these things. So Darian can go wherever he likes and declare essentially an interpretation of the law and say this is how it will be. He's a sheriff, and he can enact justice against nobles and nobility as well as common folk. That's what the Hawk of Alamander is allowed to do. So perhaps Danilo Darkblade should watch his fucking back.
I'm not touching that guy
Hold
with
on
a
a minute.
10 roll.
If he breaks the law, you have to do something.
Yeah.
Remember, the Queen is not his biggest fan either, so she would be really pleased if you could
Yeah.
kill him.
Kill him. Yeah, that'll go down well with Diego.
Oh, see if there were to be some scenario to be set up where I was in position to kill him, it would be something he planned, and like it would end up being the wrong thing to do.
It'd be an ambush.
And you would be framed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, you would be framed because you would be completely guilty of murder.
And he would probably have like a simulacrum or a clone or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I bet he's got body doubles.
Look, he's not all, but he has constraints upon his power. He has constraints upon his abilities and such like. He has class levels. He follows the same rules as players of whatever class he may or may not be.
Yeah, but
An axe in his head, he'll
I'm
still
assuming
kill
he has friends with concerns too.
There you go.
Yeah, his uncle, I mean.
Sorry. Yeah, he's Diego's uncle. Yeah,
Hello.
Is he adopted?
What, Diego or Danilo?
Oh well, since we're throwing it out there, I'm doing both.
Diego doesn't think he's adopted, and nobody's had the testicles to ask Danilo. Perhaps one guy did, and they're still finding bits of him.
And he doesn't have testicles anymore.
No, he has them. It was Benedict whose eggs Danilo eats in the morning. Later that day, the podesta of Saradouche arrives. A gentleman called Vasco Gil Monitz. He's a rather chubby, stern-faced fellow who's wearing fashions from a decade or more ago, to your Waterdavian eyes, Diego. Dark, kind of rich blue tunic that he wears with great quality felt. He's got this kind of like hat, again felt, dark colour that kind of pulls across there, and a carefully trimmed beard kind of across his chubby jowls. He has his lawyer, he has a treasurer, and he has a set of escolta, which is the Tetherian name for bodyguard. So they are carrying arms, but you're all professional fighters. They're not much. They're as much for show. They're possibly thugs. Probably better than most people in a bar fight, but they're certainly not Marshal Killeen and the Order of the Gauntlet bodyguards or anything like that. And there are 4 of the escolta. His lawyer and treasurer lack personality. They're just cardboard cutouts. Every so often they'll lean forward and whisper something in his ear. Hello, Diego, he says. Count Circazar, and he kind of comes in to kind of give you a hug and a kiss on both cheeks.
I'll pick his pocket.
You pick his pocket.
Ah, jeez.
Make a sleight of hand roll.
It's a 19.
What Darian did, Darian saw this.
Oh, you guys would be there, so let's have some perception checks, please.
Oh no! Roll badly.
90-20, and I'm not joking.
Right.
Plus 3, 23.
Okay, what's my perception? My perception is plus 0, so come on, don't roll a 20. 12. We're good.
Ox, you see Diego kind of, as he does this, his hand kind of like goes in. You're not sure if he's grabbing a bit of arse or grabbing a bit of pocket. He has nothing of note in his pockets. Apart from
anything.
No. But these pockets are again really well made. You can tell that by the way that they're closed, so you don't go straight through to his legs. And it is good of you to see a representative of the city, the crown of Circazar, the city of Saradouche. May we be... he sits down and refreshments are kind of brought in, and the Sheriff Greenhill is fawning a little bit over everybody. He's seeing this as a wonderful opportunity to advance his kind of like town's prestige. And he's kind of like try to get the best stuff, and as he's presenting it, he'll say, and this is the goat's cheese that we have from a local place about a mile away, and this is the roasted vegetables are from my own plot, etc., etc., etc. So it's all local produce, and he's kind of bigging everybody up about this. But you pass a convivial kind of like meal. If anybody's got any questions or anything that they want to do in the small talk phase?
Ask about the wine trade in Thea, because I understand that is rather important to Thea, and the country's colours is purple.
That is true, yeah.
Coincidence.
Yes, our country is purple. Our colour is purple because whilst we like the wine, we like a lot of it, and we just spill it all over our white robes. And we have yet to invent white wine to rub it out with. The problem with the wine trade, Your Grace, is that it happens far to the west. The Purple Hills are largely where it is. We make a fantastic port and fortified wine here. Our grapes aren't of the quality that they can have in the Purple Hills. Their climate is much more clement because of the proximity of the sea. But we do oils, we do citrus fruits. We have some of the finest oranges. The kind of Green Hill kind of like looks and isn't that impressed, because a lot of this produce comes more from the southwest, whereas Green Hill is more in the northeast. So there is a definite kind of divide. The further south you go, the more the citrus farms and such like are. And of course, the oysters that we select from the Lake of Steam, and the way in which we treat those, and the way in which we season those, that is a delicacy beyond compare. We manage to ship most of those either north or south, of course. There's very little left available for consumption within. And cloth.
How much are they bringing in?
His treasurer kind of leans forward and whispers. He says, tens of thousands of gold passes through Saradouche on any given day. The Rialto in Saradouche is busy, and exchanges and trades are made that will number millions of gold pieces across a year. Not much of that comes into Saradouche, and not much of that comes into the coffers of the town, for a number of reasons that I'm sure that we're going to come on to discuss. And of course the taxes that we have to pay out, and the leakage that there is through the Zentarim, and he spits the name out, the Zentarim, who avoid...
Everyone around the table spits, including Diego.
Danilo comes in and goes, "Go Zentarim!" Oh, sorry, and heads out again.
Everyone spits.
Everyone pulls out their Zentarim spittoon. Puts it away. And the borders are porous, and he kind of looks across at Darren, and may I say, even though the Order of Gunner is trying its greatest at establishing proper border controls, they have interest within the Protectorate of Mintar as well. So we do not see them as being as impartial as perhaps they could be in this particular aspect. We do not wish to question their honour, but we do question, are they the best vehicle for the border control? Should we place more of a load upon the rural people, the rural population, who do not pay their fair share? The subjects do not pay the same share as the citizens do. At this, Apraxin kind of leans and says, the people in the towns consider themselves to be citizens and call the people in the country subjects. There's a very clear priority there. The citizens are not subject to a magnate or a grandee. They are free individuals. Most of the people in the countryside are as well, but a lot of them are their lands are owned, they're tenants rather than free people, and there's complications of feudal law that we should really find a way to sort out.
Is there a difference in tax?
Sorry?
Is there a difference in tax between the people?
Oh, I thought there'd be a difference in tax.
There's the Vasco steals the question. Of course there is. The taxes that are placed upon the people within the city are disproportionate in comparison to the taxes that are placed upon the rural. The fact that it is a window tax, when the people out in the countryside have much smaller properties and therefore have less need of light, that is a disproportionate load placed upon those that choose to live in the city.
How about the feudal lords who own the land of the rural town, the rural villages? Are they paying a fair amount of tax?
No, the nobility escapes taxes by and large. Their share is completely insufficient. A tax that would be targeted towards the nobility would be welcomed by the burghers of the city. By the way, I'm messing up all of the historical kind of terms. Podesta is a term from the Italian city-states, whereas most of Tethia is divided in kind of like an Iberian way. So burger is a German term from the Hanseatic League. For anybody who's watching this who knows any degree of history. But I like it.
Would the feudal lords perhaps pay for more protection for their lands if they think the borders are a bit leaky?
No, because they're not merchants. What do they care if the Zentarian bring illegal oysters into the country and avoid the tolls?
But
The difficulty here is that there is, and has historically been, insufficient importance placed upon the economic engine of the county, which is the city of Saradouche. Investment needs to be gathered, and that will then trickle down to all the other people within the lands, he says. Nobody make insight checks.
Well, no. That's okay.
I think I've got a plus.
Mm.
Nothing.
I have a -1, 14.
13.
Yeah, I've got a plus nothing. 2.
Darian.
That actually suits. I think Darian does not understand.
Darian's like, oh wow, yeah, it's complicated, this, isn't it? And you two guys are, you two guys are like, this guy is just a politician. Yeah, he's got an agenda, so he's slightly unashamedly advancing that agenda. So whilst he's very good at saying stuff that resonates and sounds sensible, as you kind of ask maybe a few more questions, yeah, Darian's like, yeah, it's good, yeah. Oh no, I'm with you, man. Have you got any heathens I can slay? As the conversation moves on, he kind of says, well, since we're talking the politics, I do have a number of items that I think it would be sensible for us to discuss. We have the great matter of the day, which is your entrance into the town, which should be... I know that you are Waterdavian, and I don't know how they do things in Waterdeep, but in Tethia it is important that the nobility are seen to put on a great show. And it is also important that that great show comes out of their own pockets. For they are able to demonstrate their strength of leadership by being able to demonstrate what a fantastic grasp of monies that they have, and that nobility should always be gilded. The Queen does Tethia a disservice, though I know that times are difficult for her, by not demonstrating the wondrous crown jewels and dressing in such a mundane fashion. She should be dressed to the nines, bringing those things throughout the duchies and the counties. But I digress. There are some other matters. That is the great matter, my lord. There are other matters. So item the first. Sewer maintenance. The city is overflowing with excrement, and it does no one any good. The reason why, though millions may be traded in the Rialto, very few people come to the city is because it is foul. So item the one, money must be spent on the sewers. Item the second, the paving in the main square is treacherous. It is so difficult to bring any kind of caravans through the town with any degree of safety. The carpenters and the coopers and the wheelwrights are making a fortune from this, and it is a little bit of investment in the paving in the main square. Item the third, the Umladrin Gate is a shambles. This is a gate that faces the Umladrin Mountains. This is the gate through which our customers, our clients are supposed to come, and it is not mighty at all. It does not represent the city of Saradouche in any great way. Item the fourth, there are squatters throughout the city. These are subjects who are attempting to gain the glory of the citizens, but are only able to base themselves in the old buildings. They have no rights to that. But it seems that the city guard is incapable or unwilling to oust them. Item the fifth, the rights to stone from the city walls. This is a city-owned enterprise. My forebears bore the tax burden that built those walls, so I do not see why we should not be able to legally reharvest that walls for our own buildings. Item the sixth, there is a substantial backlog of legislation that requires the Count's seal of approval. So progress in that alacrity and affirming those edicts that have been waiting for a Count to be positioned. In theory, it was the Queen and her representatives, and he looks across at Praxin, who were supposed to do this. But again, talking frankly, my lord, the speed with which the Queen's representative moves on these matters is glacial at best. I've seen
to the speedy moves.
I've seen tortoises with more dexterity than the Chancellor in any legal matters. Now, I excuse me, the Chancellor Praxton says. And,
Gentlemen, I'm sure we can agree, although the process may be not as quick as you may prefer, but I would certainly argue that in Chancellor's defence, he is utterly thorough.
this is an item that
He
clearly we
takes
must
his time.
discuss.
Darren agrees. Anything to defend Praxis. He agrees.
Item the 7th. Relief on the Ilksar taxation, which has been placed to fund the Order of the Gauntlet protecting the borders of the county, which falls disproportionately upon the urban population. It's important that we assess this and understand the true value that it returns, given the compromised nature of the Order of the Gauntlet and their relationship with the Protectorate of Mintar, through which the Centauri pour daily and thousands and tens of thousands of tax revenues that could come into your coffers and the city's coffers are missing because of their negligence. The city has decided enough is enough, and we do not wish to be contributing to this when we could take that money and employ our own force.
Not good for Darien.
So those are the 7 items, alongside the great business of your wondrous entrance.
Surely that would be illegal by the Queen's decree and laws of the country.
Fortunately, my lord, we live in a palatinate, and you can amend and adjust those laws as we understand it, of course. His legal counsel kind of leans and whispers something that you can't quite catch, and he goes, "Yes, well, yes, details, brother, details."
I don't understand that.
I'm glad that we have given ourselves a full 10-day to put our minds entirely to these matters, my lord.
Well, thank you for bringing these to my full view. Given the paving, squatters, etc. Of course, our first priority should be bringing not only Saradouche, but the entire county of Circazar back where it should be, in the limelight of all of Faerun, I would argue.
A noble aim, my lord. But let us...
How we get there should... How we get there should be with as few, well, I don't want to say casualties.
It looks like
casualties is completely the wrong word I'm looking for.
Is that a threat, my
Stepping on the
lord?
least toes.
You with your own private army
But
dragonborn and
I would certainly
familiar relationship with the Order of the Gauntlets, am I to take that as a threat?
But
The
certainly
entire
would-
time, Ox and Down should be stood behind him like this. Whenever he sat down, just power play.
Saradouche is mainly made of wood, isn't it? Wood birds. We wouldn't want the city to go up in flames, would we?
I was going to ask, is this place close enough to where... Is this place relatively close to where Ox is going to be setting up?
Yeah, he said it was
Yeah.
like
Green Hill,
a short walk.
Green Nest it's about a day's walk, which is about a couple of days' ride.
Okay, and is Ox large enough to reach over and give this man a handshake?
Is Ox large enough to reach out and give us a handshake?
Yeah,
Um,
because we're sitting at a table,
probably.
aren't we?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so I go, if you'll excuse me, my lords, I'd like to introduce Ox, my companion, and I gesture over to him, and I prompt you to give the guy a handshake. I want to see what kind of reaction he has.
So a massive plate mailed hand just comes across. Leads across. Yeah.
You may or may not have heard that he is due to set up a settlement within the county, and this would of course require stone, wood, and ore. Are these things readily available and accessible in these lands?
By and large, yes. Are you trying to intimidate him?
No, I want to see how racist he was when he was. Or are you speaking up?
Oh yeah. So he kind of like briefly kind of like touched it in a rather distasteful way.
Does he like wipe his hand afterwards?
No, he amputates it from the shoulder. What? Another one of him grows out of that.
Well, for those who are
Like a
not
troll.
well informed, Ox will be Circusar's marshal.
Again, my lord, I ask you: are you threatening the city?
No, I'm just keeping you informed.
I'm here to protect.
He says that looking down, standing over him.
Yeah.
Are you trying to intimidate him?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
I say I'm here to
Intimidate
protect,
rolls.
but I'm
Intimidate roll. Intimidate roll.
Oh, my intimidate's good. Ooh, 22.
He cowers back a little. Oh, I think I've taken a slight turn. I think I'm going to retire. We'll start the formal discussions. The formal discussions tomorrow, my lord. I think it's best to keep these discussions private. Of course.
Well, I certainly would consult these issues with my council, of which Ox is on as marshal. Understandably.
Yes. Well, it's been a long journey, and
It has.
and
I'm tired. You must be tired.
the roast vegetables, they're not settling so nicely. And Green Hill's like, you can fuck off, you fucking wanker. Praxton kind of like, he's like, finally manages to rod him next Tuesday. And they kind of get up and withdraw. Okay.
He does not seem to like me.
No.
No, I don't like
Or
it.
the Order of Gauntlet, for that matter. Doesn't seem particularly keen on them.
The man asks for a lot, but what did he really offer in return?
Yeah.
Very little.
Like, some campaign notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's Podesta, Podesta, for what it's worth. But yeah, don't worry about it.
He also seems to have an agenda against the Queen.
Can we add stuff to the character wiki? So could like Ben add that, just like name?
Yeah, I think so. I actually do think you. I think you have rights to add content to it. If you don't, then I'm certainly happy to give you that to add your own notes, so long as you kind of add a like Diego thinks or Diego note to
Well,
it.
this is why we're doing we posted to YouTube, so we can watch it back about half.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, right then. So, how do you want to carry the rest of the day? So Praxin kind of says, "My lord, we have scheduled a full week's worth of discussions with the Podesta on these matters. I can offer you my counsel, which is to tell him to go fuck himself. No, the problem we have is that the Podesta represents the intent of the city. It might not represent the common man within the city, but he is the head official there. So if we
will need to find
we need to work with him.
nice line between the two to appease. Thank you, Praxton.
Does Sheriff Greenhill represent the rural then? Does he represent this rural village?
He represents this town. So essentially, if you think of
we should have a rural representative as well. If this guy's championing,
there isn't a single rural representative. So essentially, if you imagine, okay, so this is the breakdown. Praxton says, so the breakdown. I'll go over and get a map.
I'll get it for you. I'll get it.
Pick him up and move it.
Someone give him a potion of haste. That's our next quest.
In second edition, the haste spell aged whomever it was cast on, so you
God.
could have caused him just to haste himself into death. So this is how it breaks down. Essentially, the county is made up of a number of shires, and each shire has a sheriff. And normally the sheriff's elected in some way, but in the rural communities, it's much more kind of pastoral, and it's maybe first amongst the equals more clearly. So whilst Sheriff Greenhill kind of has this keep and his family, it's been a generational thing in this town. In lots of other places, maybe it'll pass around. It'll be the village elders or something of that nature, or a cleric of Trontier, or somebody who's taken an interest in the care of the community.
We certainly need a rural rep.
Maybe a cleric, like a community leader.
Well, okay. Well, we can think about that, because that would, when you say a representative to what, my lord?
A common man of the rural.
Yeah,
Are you talking about your privy
the
council?
welfare of the.
So you're going to form a privy council, my lord?
This would be someone to a seat on my council. Yes.
Yeah, because at the moment you don't have a council, and there's no.
Well, I'm still going through the paperwork, Braxton. Jesus.
I don't want to move you along hastily.
Clearly not a fan.
So that's an interesting concept. So I would have to think about how we could make that a reality, I guess. But a single rural representative could be challenging, because the north of the county has a different set of concerns to the south and to the east as well. As you start to get in more into the foothills, and it's more of the sheep country than the kind of like vegetables, or to the south it's more of the kind of oils and the what wine there is. So we might need to think about.
We will need to pass all of them.
Yeah, and Saradouche isn't the only town either. It's it's the only city, and it's a capital, I guess. But it's not the only urban centre with some representation. So we need to think, I guess, carefully about that. But Saradouche is where the overwhelming majority of the count's revenues come from, my lord. So we need to be careful, I guess.
Agreed.
I mean, is your strategy to try to keep all of the forces in the county kind of more or less satisfied? Because that could be the kind of.
Well, that'll be the trick, isn't it?
It could be impossible. And I know you gents are used to the impossible, but I haven't seen it done yet. I haven't seen it done since my second wife died. She was a quick one, she was.
Full circle, Braxton.
And now she's joined the quick.
One too many hastes.
Yeah, it was a nightmare. It was that long ago. We were in second edition rules.
I was going to say second wife, but that'd be second edition.
Yeah. I want my fifth wife now. It was my basic wife that I really enjoyed. It was incomplex. She was an elf. She was a class of her own. Well, that's actually quite a good joke for me, just off the cuff. I'm going to take an experience point. That's what I'm going to do. Take a GM. Thank you very much. I'm going to take a GM experience point.
Those only get assigned to particular characters.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So
the Lady de Winter just gained a level.
Oh no!
The Lady de Winter can fuck off.
the half dragon, half vampire, half elf.
Half celestial.
Yeah, half a.
All bitch.
Oh. It's so true.
So do you have anything more that you kind of like want to do? Praxin will give you the lowdown on the kind of issues. Yeah, the sewers do need to be maintained.
That seems like a vital one for Saradouche.
You know, actually maintaining the sewers and rights to the stone from the city walls could answer some of the questions about the paving as well. You know, if you were to, it wouldn't be particularly popular, but if you declared ownership of the stone in the walls for the count, then you could use that, or for the city, then you could use that to help rebuild the sewers and to pave the main square, which incidentally would generate some need for some labourers, and maybe we could pull the labourers from the nearby rural areas to try to bring, to mix them together a little bit. Perhaps.
A little bit of Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Removing stone from the wall seems a bad idea, though.
Well, we haven't.
Yeah.
Well,
say.
what is the state of these walls?
The
It's
fuck's
on
my
the border,
lord.
isn't it? Or close to the border.
Close-ish, yeah.
Okay.
That's enough.
There's no monster attacks, and there's no great.
Yet.
Yeah, there's no monster attacks. There's always been a history of civil war within Tethia. But one of the things that the Queen has been able to achieve over the last 15 years, more or less, is actually since Donolo was ousted, is to have a relatively stable. So most of the kind of aggro happens without military intervention, I guess is what I'm saying.
So, when did all the civil uprising kind of start? Or
About the time that Tithia was founded.
Okay, so in the span of maybe Donolo being in his teens to now, how was it like then?
Okay, so you know that Aeneas, it was about 15 or 17 years ago, about 15, 16, 17 years ago, that Donolo returned back to Waterdeep. And he was here for, you don't actually know how long. But the history of Tethia, which goes back several thousand years, is backstabbing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody wants to make a history check.
I've been reading some of the books involved with Thea. I certainly will.
4.
Oh, 15. Flat roll.
Yeah, 6. That makes sense.
Ox is like Tethia old.
Yeah, Darian's like, yes, Teth, you're old.
So, Diego, you recall from some of your childhood lessons where you were forced to learn a little bit about the history of Faerun and the nations and the Grand Nations. And a lot of the noble families of Waterdeep kind of are ethnically Tetherian. So Waterdeep has only been founded 456 years at this point, whereas Tethia's spans back several thousand years. And basically there was an old empire, the Shunak Empire, which turned it into a barrel of necromancers and lichers. But that kind of like formed quite a lot, and then it came under the control of the Kalimshite Empire when all that was like all the genies on the material plane and such like. And then in recent history, so the last 200 or 300 years, it has been unstable. It's only really since the Randa Star about 130, 140, 150 years ago founded the this dynasty from which Queen Aeneas draws her lineage, that there's been more of a measure of stability, but not masses.
I know about the royal family being ousted. I know about them coming back.
When we talk about genies,
So more modern, more history probably within the last 150 years.
So you know that there's been definitely frictions with the Protectorate Mintar,
Yeah.
which was Baneite. It was ruled by the Church of Bane, and the war that Donolo was involved with was to kind of protect the Tetherian border, but also to kind of eject the Church of Bane from the Protectorate of Mintar. And the view now is that though there is a presence of Baneites and a strength of the Church of Bane within the Protectorate, they tend not to be in leadership positions. So it's not a theocracy anymore as it used to be.
Can we confirm that those are all, since they are Baneites, is it likely that they are Zentarans? Zents.
The Zents have, some influence there, some bases there. The Zents provided quite a number of the mercenary armies that the Tetherians fought against. So there is definitely a known presence there. Whether there is a 100% map between I am a follower of Bane, therefore I'm a Zent, and I'm a Zent, therefore I'm a follower of Bane, would be pure conjecture. Excuse me.
When we talk
You
about
don't
genies,
necessarily have to be a follower of Bane.
when we talk about genies, is it I get these mixed up. Jinns or genies? Which one's the air elemental? Which one's the general term?
So genie is the general term.
Right. So it was more than just one type of elemental.
Yeah. It was 73 of them. I've gone into granular detail, and there's 4 types of elementals. Anyway. Okay, so I don't really want to. Do you all want to be privy to these kind of like council discussions, which is going to take a 10-day? If you don't want to be, then you can progress your own agendas, or you can take some personal downtime actions. You go pit fighting in the Green Hill pits, pit fighting.
I think we should all be there. I'll be there.
I'll be there to stab this fucking city official.
If anything, I'm like, Ox, you are going.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, a lot of it's very economy driven. Can Darian be informed
Add up. No,
Yeah.
is the question.
Can Darian be informed of military? What's the other correct word?
Intel.
Can you be informed of all military Order of the Gauntlet and protection of the people and protection of the border meetings? But all this economy stuff is just.
Oh no, the meetings are entirely about the 8 issues that the guy spoke about. The great issue of how is Diego going to enter Saradouche, and item the first sewer maintenance, paving in the main square, the unladdering gate, squatters in some older buildings, right to stone for city walls, affirmation of a backlog of legislation which requires the count seal, and relief of the Ilksar taxation, which you might be interested in, but you will have a compromised position as far as the pedestre is concerned.
So you said it there, but I'm like, how does Darian have an interest in this?
You remember the other gauntlet? They want to take away your funding. Bastards to a man. Okay, so it's cool. Yeah, okay, that's cool.
I guess I'll be there if we are going to discuss related topics.
Darian's there, but he looks exactly like how mine looks now. Not now. Now. Taking the inspiration for inadvertently role-playing body language on the video chat. This is just fucking bullshit. Why am I in the fucking office for this? This is a Dungeons and Dragons fucking campaign, is it? Are we playing fucking Excel the Dungeon? What? What challenge rating is this formula?
I can't smite this board meeting.
Tell you what.
Episode name.
I wouldn't mind bringing you to some of my board meetings if you've got a few smites in the, in the chat. When the FT starts chuntering on, you'd be like, smite. Make life a lot easier. Okay, so I'm not gonna role play through. Oh, I mean, Darren's even taken his jacket off. That's how committed he is to it.
Getting serious now.
I know. He's rolled his sleeves up. He's got ink on his hands.
Rolling his sleeves up.
So I'm not gonna kind of I'm not gonna try to role play through this. on account of the fact it would actually just be genuinely boring.
Yeah.
But what's your approach going to be? Do you want to? Yeah. Are there any ones that you're willing to give on? Any ones that you're going to push quite hard back on, or anything along those lines?
I'll push. I'm not going to push hard back. I'm going to push medium back on the cutting funds for the order because I want the Zentarum out.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't want them anywhere near Circusar. And the paving needs to be sorted. I think, as Praxton was saying, the best thing to do would be use the stones from the walls to fix both paving and possibly the sewers.
Yep.
The sewers are vital. Need sorting.
Can you use the stone for the wall for the main gate as well? Apparently. But why are we fixing the main gate to make a grand entrance if we're dismantling the wall?
I don't want my entrance to be all pomp and circumstance. I don't want them to go. First off, the nobility will get pissy because they're having to fork out their own. Say, "Ooh, I'm important."
Why do you teleport in when we play stuck in the gate? This is like Diego.
Keeping the mountain bank in.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just deal with these kind of like let's deal with these one by one then. So you're kind of going to propose what Praxton suggested in terms of the stone rebuilding of the infrastructure and such like. Okay, and as a general in your negotiation style, are you going to try to persuade? Are you going to try to intimidate the podesta?
Oh, I think persuade.
I'll persuade.
Yeah,
Can you
okay,
just
persuade.
you can technically just order him,
Can
can't
we,
you? Aren't you his superior?
Well, no, not
yeah,
really.
I'm
Actually, no.
I'm
Because
going to panache.
yeah, okay, so it's an interesting situation. So this is kind of much more akin to the Queen and Parliament than it is to an absolute monarch.
Okay.
So while strictly speaking, Diego gets to call all the laws, and they can't enter law, statute books, and what have you without him. And it's not quite a constitutional monarchy either. There is a charter that governs and regulates the relationship between the chief magnate and the people. So there are certain things that you can't do. They are citizens; they are not subjects. So you don't get to just order them around as subjects. Whereas the people outside of the city have no charter that protects them, so they have feudal lords by and large. So it's not quite straightforward as saying, "Drop your pants, boys," whilst I do what I want. Which is maybe not. Maybe we'll get edited out of the final cut. Actually, now I think about saying that.
So this entrance that he wants you to make, he wants it to be grand, and so all the nobility see it, and he wants you to spend your own wealth, making it quite.
So let's
that's all we need.
So let's just do make a persuade roll on those kind of infrastructure things.
Oh, can we persuade him to try and employ the...
This is wonderful, this really is.
For the labour. As well as any of the squatters, I guess.
Is 22.
Okay,
But if I'd rolled below 9, it would be because rogue bullshit.
sorry, hold on a minute. Yep. So he understands this, and to be honest, as you kind of get into the detail of the
entire time though, I want to flatter him, pretty much make him feel like this is almost his idea. He said he had a vested interest in the rights to the stones.
Okay, make a bluff roll. Make a bluff roll.
Podesta, good man. You said it yourself. The sewers all by donating the stone. The city would surely be in your debt. Make like him feel. Oh yes, that is a good one. Yes.
Yeah, make a bluff roll.
I don't think bluff's a thing anymore. It's just deception, isn't it?
Oh, deception. Yeah, deception.
Yeah.
Deception.
Yeah, make a deception roll. Yeah, that's closest, I think.
Okay. That is a 12.
12. He understands the game that you're playing. He kind of
Oh, no.
he sees that, and he also sees that your intent is to try to give him the answers to how he can position it back to the people. So he takes it as a kind of, he takes it reasonably well, even though he kind of sees that, what you're trying to do. And actually, as you get into the detail of the negotiations, and as you kind of accept the fact that he is trying to represent a vested interest, you can kind of get that from where he is, it's not unreasonable what he's pressing for in a number of the matters. So definitely he would have quite happily walked away with everything on his side. He's not so stupid to be insistent that there's only one winner, which is the city. So where alternative solutions are proposed that he can work with, he's willing to kind of take them away and work with them. You absolutely get the fact that the glory is probably going to attract itself to him and not necessarily to you, whatever the truth of it might be.
Well, as long as Circazar's up and going, then that's a good thing.
So what about the squatters? They're a threat to the safety of the city. They're a threat to the safety of the citizens within the city. They are
What are the state of the buildings that they are currently occupying?
run down.
And they must be like stealing and stuff to get by, are they?
Yes, they have no regard for the laws of property.
Have them work. That's why they came originally, isn't it? To find work.
They are. There is work for them if they wanted to do that, but they have chosen a different path. I would not be surprised if amongst their lot there are spies of our enemies.
Your enemies, perhaps.
Can we insight check?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it. You can insight check whatever you want to do.
Oh, crit.
Let's
Oh,
try
natural
yeah, let's
20.
try that. Nope.
15.
No. Darian's too zoned out.
21. It's a natural.
15, 21.
I think that was a 6. It's negligible anyway.
Yeah, okay. This is clearly one of the phases where Darian's fallen asleep. It's like, no, his bodyguards are holding up, like pretending that he's awake. He is possibly embellishing, but it rings a little true.
Yeah.
It's one of these things. It's a little bit like how I experienced some of Donald Trump's spokespeople. What they say, they probably genuinely believe, but they don't really feel that they need to have all the facts available unproven before they make the claim. Well, I say Donald Trump is actually most politicians, but anyway.
So what's your plan on that, Diego?
The squatters.
So are these but it's
There must be somewhere else that we could have them stay, certainly momentarily. I'm wondering about the how much space we've got for Dragonborn. And you want to incorporate Dragonborn into society? Well, that might be a...
What, give it these rundown? Yeah, I'm sure these rundown houses are owned by nobility at the moment who just want them back, I assume.
There are various owners.
If those would be
the
renovated, what would they be? What was the purpose for these buildings? Would the purpose of these buildings stay the same? Should they be renovated?
As some of his advisors leading on, they have a little conflab. The buildings have got many purposes, my lord. I mean, it's not for the city to renovate private property. It's for the owners. The owners have decided that they do not wish to do that because there must not be a return that they expect. Let us bring ourselves back to the key point, my lord, which is the fact that there are ruffians, scoundrels, spies of our enemies that are causing a threat to the city, that are causing a threat to the people of the city. It is not safe to walk the streets at some points in night. My very wife was accosted by one of them, not a few days before I set off to come here. She says she enjoyed it. I say that the only person who's going to enjoy is me.
Diego, we probably do know one person who might be able to root out spies. Whether or not you would want to use his services, I don't know. In this manner.
I really don't want to.
Or his methods.
What's your view on this, Ox, as Marshal?
Who are you asking? Sorry.
Ox.
Ox.
Okay.
Spies and ruffians are a danger to our citizens, I suppose, but we could aggravate a much larger threat if they are indeed working for nefarious others.
How about this then?
But if they are
obviously-
breaking laws, they should be removed.
Well, how about this? Your Dragonborn caravan, you're not going to be able to have permanent residents right away. Could some of them take up residence in here and provide their services as guards patrolling at night in exchange for, food, clothing, shelter, just while you get more of the settlement built?
Well, I assume many of Saradush's citizens may be liberal. I assume there'd be a vast amount of them which would prefer ruffians and thieves in their buildings than Dragonborn.
Whilst you're having this
Well, you
conversation,
show them
Yeah.
what
just
Dragonborn are made
so you can't see my face.
You show them the nobility of your people. Don't tell them.
It should be the local guard force who should do the initial
Well, they
sweep.
should, but they're not, clearly.
With support from perhaps the new Dragonborn. But to march in and throw people out of their temporary homes, I suppose, maybe seem a bit harsh.
Just maintain
On
order.
Diego, it might a police state.
You are the marshal, after all.
They need to be evicted, but they need somewhere to go.
Perhaps
we need to
the
have somewhere for
Podesta
them to go.
says, perhaps we should evict them out of the county.
Could they be I guess conscript is not the right word, but could they be put to work on the farmlands so they'd be out of the city doing work and getting shelter?
Of course, that is an option, the Podesta says. Praxin kind of leans forward and says, my Lord Podesta, you represent the city, not the farmers. You would not know whether that is an option or not. If I may speak frankly, you are attempting to get them removed. You are considered with the where rather than the from. And the Podesta kind of smiles subtly to himself.
Okay, so we'll try and contact some rural peeps after this meeting, I guess.
I'm not entirely convinced they'll
We
want
will address this issue tomorrow, I say to him.
Okay,
So
tomorrow
we-
rolls around.
then.
We better continue that in the forum thread.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yep, sounds good. Those people who are watching the stream, in fact, we've got two. Are you still online, Ben? Josh, sorry. Oh, we only got one now.
Oh,
Clearly, whether the squatters get evicted or not was such a hot topic that I had to kind of go off to make a few calls to get their other friends to kind of come and watch this drama, this good wife
Yeah.
kind of quality drama. So what we'll do, viewers, is we'll take this offline, but at the start of the next session, we'll tell you how it all panned out, because I know you want to know.
It'll be a bloodbath.
We'll call it the Battle of Squattersville.
secrets on squatters.
Level 11 warrior versus slightly ill commoner. Will they be considered a swarm or not? These and other questions will get answered.
So between Darian's poor insight rolls into a lot of the goings on, he's drawn up plans for their arrival.
What would Darian? Yeah,
What would Darian do?
What would Darian do? Like, surely Darian wouldn't kick people out onto the streets.
I just said I want to try and get them perhaps out in the country. If they're concerned that they're spies, then that would make them less central, and they'd be working.
They should be conscripted to the Order of Gauntlet.
No,
Yeah.
I think they're constricted to your own army.
they're probably not physically capable.
No.
Not yet.
Or martially capable, anyway. What was I going to say there? Oh, yes. So, for plans, how about I march up with whatever forces we're going to march up with, and Diego and Ox can keep the Cloak of the Mountebank on top of the gate. And I was thinking you could throw some sort of flag up or something and have Ox disintegrate it, but I'm not sure what flag that would be. It just sounds cool.
This is very elaborate.
If you want to make a statement about someone you're taking head on, that's the way to do it.
You don't want people to fear us.
No, but if it's like the Zantara and all the bad things, like, you know, if you want to put it out there right away, then you could throw up a Zentaran flag.
Came the man back in with a massive black flag of the Zentarum.
Mm-hmm. And then like, oh no! And then you throw it up, and then Ox goes, and then it just like falls apart with the acid, and they're like, yay!
But every member of Zentarum will just be like, challenge accepted, because
Exactly.
they're just going to want you for that.
Yeah.
The Podesta, his advisors, and Chancellor Praxton are looking at you like, what the fuck are you on about? We were thinking like bread and circuses for the masses. What, a flag? Disintegrate? What?
I think even though you're ruling this land, Diego, you should do like
We need some smash.
You need something to like a nod to the Queen almost still to show you're not like some invading force.
Yeah.
You know, maybe if you were just wearing some colours or symbols.
Yeah.
Maybe if you didn't look like Danilo. Which is difficult, considering he's your uncle.
Yeah.
It occurs to you when you say that might be the reason why he's excused himself from these discussions.
Because that wouldn't look good.
Because if any of the people around these discussions recognise him in the same way that Queen Aeneas did, she didn't know about the Darkblade name, so whatever happened back then has clearly been disassociated from his noble lineage. You know, perhaps actually, you know, he doesn't want to attract much attention to himself.
Yeah, but for sinister reasons rather than.
Yeah.
No, it's because he's clearly got, you know, the British.
He cares about his nephew.
He's
clearly.
got the British Red Cross coming in to do humanitarian work with the squatters.
Send Danilo to a soup kitchen.
Yeah.
Do charity work.
Can you
Poison
imagine
them all.
Can you imagine if he was like, yes, of course? Darian would be like, I'm going first because I'm immune to poison.
I know, I don't think I am. I'm immune to disease. I can cure poison.
I'll be there, so because I can cure poison.
You'll just stand at the exit, just lay on hands everyone who walks out after the ranking.
By the by, have you guys acquired potions of... Yeah, you've got potions of cure poison, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got some at some point.
I like how Danolo's kind of like gone from being like patron of the group. Everybody's kind of like, yeah, he's got a bit of nastiness in there, I guess, but you know, he's a really good guy. To like the arch nemesis, he kills babies for laughs.
He's not the arch nemesis. We're all just shit scared of him.
And we should be.
Rightfully so.
That is probably the best way to approach him. The best way to approach him is not to approach him. The second best way to approach him is on your knees supplicating. Okay, so basically Podesta lays out essentially. So it's okay. So ordinarily, in circumstances where we would be greeting a dignitary, we would put on some games and some free bread for the population. They would be allowed off work, would suspend the sumptuary laws. Sumptuary laws about how you dress and what you've got to wear and what you can and can't wear. We would have. Sorry.
Everyone wears black. It looks like
What
a
can you
few.
not wear?
Certain colours.
Like a bank holiday. Call it Dark Blade
Certain
Day.
colours. So a good example of this would be a sumptuary law would be only senators are allowed to have purple line around their togas. That's a
Purple's
sumptuary
really
law.
expensive, though, isn't it?
And hence, the reason why you want to control it for the people who you want to be the dignitaries. In history, a sumptuary law would be that Jews have to wear certain colours or are not allowed to wear other colours and so on and so forth. So sumptuary laws are a big thing through history. Anyway,
Well, the normal people should be able to wear
the normal
wear their
people. The normal people.
Yeah, the normal people.
The normal.
Unlike those freaks called nobles.
Are we going to bring gifts of Chiltern fruits again? Pineapple.
That kind of thing. That is exactly the kind of thing. So ordinarily, the cost for an entrance of your stature, my lord, would be around about 5,000 gold pieces. And this
I say to him, like,
this is what the people would expect their leader to do to reflect the glory of the county of Circazar and the city of Saradouche on the global stage.
Okay, I will have like Darren Ox sort of like attend the crowd, introduce me, and then it's just like Diego Darkblade, and there's nothing. Diego Darkblade, nothing. Diego, and I will caper the mountebank like a few feet up, full land on my feet. Ole! It'll probably be silent.
Yeah,
So that's a great
spectacular.
a great demonstration of your prowess, my lord. But what about the games and the supply of food and all of those expenses that we would estimate would run to 5,000 gold pieces?
We can have gladiatorial events.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dan, are you still watching? Can we contact you?
You do have magical items that allow sending spells to be sent.
Then we should get some.
We also have a magic flying carpet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the point.
It took you quite a distance. It's quite a distance. Also, those sending items are the masks that you got from the Lady of the Winter. So if you want to use them, feel free. But you're not quite sure who's going to be the end of that sending.
No.
I thought we gave them to the Queen.
And Dan says yes. Do you give them all to the Vizera?
I gave that one.
I've
You
still got
get
mine.
me.
Yeah,
I've still
so
got
you got at least one from the Feywild.
But we can have gladiatorial like events like we did after the wedding.
And
where
these things take
fighting.
money
Jousting.
to arrange, and they take money to stage. So all of this is included in our great plan. And I come back to the cost that we would expect the count to bear of around 5,000 gold pieces.
Has the money arrived at your estate yet?
Have you checked into that, Ox?
I thought last session we said it had.
Have you checked into it, Ox?
Yes, it's there.
Yes, he has.
So you know that the original amount that was collected from the Dragon Horde was around about 50,000 gold pieces, coins and gems.
Yeah.
But with the Darkblade cut for the aid that they
Yep.
supplied, and the forwarding fees again going to the Darkblade, and then an administration of the remaining funds
For the
by
dark
the Darkblade, you have around 30,000 gold pieces available to you. Feeding 500
You have 3 gold.
feeding 500 mouths costs somewhere in the region of 750 gold a week.
That'll last me a while. A bit then.
40 weeks. You have 40 weeks. You also intend to
year.
build a stronghold.
Yep. Or at least a village before. we want
Yeah, that's going
housing
to
before
cost.
stronghold. Yep.
So, but you've got 30,000 gold pieces sat in a Swiss bank account under the name D Darkblade.
Yeah, but which one?
I'll let you flip a coin. If it comes up heads, it's Danilo. If it comes up tails, it's Danilo.
Can I do a D4? If it's a 1 or 2, it's Diego.
That's heads I win, tails you
Oh,
lose.
it's a 3.
Take a look at that D4. You'll find all the numbers are 3s.
Yeah, they'll all suddenly change at all 3s. Yeah.
Oh.
So you can use some of that, I guess. But
Yeah.
your Dragonborn worked hard for it.
So you said that you were going to push back a little bit on the costs.
Mm.
So are you going to try and persuade again? So make a persuasion roll.
Okay. That is a rogue bullshit, so that is 20.
20. Okay. So with a bit of to and fro, is there a particular argument that you want to kind of present with the persuasion?
Well, this is all about the...
I will requisition the use of X,
This is,
Y, and Z.
this is about the Order of the Gauntlet, isn't it?
No, this is
Yeah.
about paying for your entrance into Saradouche.
All the flashy stuff and all the events.
The
Yeah,
events.
you want to try and reduce the amount.
Yeah, we don't need like fireworks and whatnot.
Well, so this persuade roll is about trying to get the city to pick up some of the tab.
Yeah.
Right. Mm. Yeah.
Like setting up the games and stuff. Surely is something.
We've got
Yeah,
some.
the
We've got
games,
some spellcasters. They can do
that's okay.
illusions.
Yeah.
Okay, so you put forward, and it takes a couple of days to thrash this out, but the outcome is that the city will bear half of the cost, so 2,500 gold, and that you'll need to bear half of the cost, so about 2,500 gold.
Okay. Well, that's a lot better all round.
To Darian's like just.
Darian's like, money. Gold doesn't matter.
So this is like maybe the 6th day of the negotiations. My notes here actually say the tone I'm going for is one of non-heroic drudge. The grinding it outside of leadership and being a noble. My Lord Hawk of Ollimander, Tetherian courier says, wearing the colours of the Queen. I'm here on the Queen's business, and she calls for you at Daramar on the self-same.
And that's the extent of the message.
He's there. This is like, boom, he's there. He's kind of like, you're in a recess. They've had to take one of the walls away because you're just banging your head into it and create too much of a dent. And got a fresh wall.
But it's being used to fix the sewers.
Yeah. You're going to lay it down for some paving in Town Square.
So that's the extent of the message. She's not stated why, or she's just.
I'm not accustomed to knowing the Queen's business, my Lord Hawk.
I'm really sorry, guys. I'm gonna have to.
You don't need to. You don't need to make insight rolls.
I'm making them anyway.
8. That's fine. That's good enough.
Yeah, well, Darian's flaw is that I have trouble keeping my true feelings hidden anyway. So.
Yeah. Nobody's quite sure how Darian managed to get 3 levels of disadvantage on trying to bluff that, but roll 26 d20s and take the lowest.
I'm gonna have to ride out to meet the Queen. It must be important.
Everybody's you all watched the Herald was slightly taken about. Well, you're leaving now, my lord.
Oh yes, it must be terribly important for the Queen to request me.
This is unusual. Most people do not respond so. Excuse me, with such alacrity. Let us ride.
Yeah, she didn't state why, so it must be dire. Let us make haste.
Gregor's summoned in the council chamber.
Yeah, exactly.
Darian jumps through the nearest window.
It's desperate to get away.
He ties a stretch of rope around Gregor, around one of the chair legs, and just goes. Comes back, forgot his sword.
Don't cut my funding!
Take an inspiration point. I think you've already got one, actually. Who would have thought economic negotiation? This is like how Brexit should be done. Theresa May, the Queen has summoned you. Yep, right, okay, I'm out. She summons Boris Johnson, rides him out. Yes, you have just had a Brexit joke on your D&D stream.
Just lost all viewers.
You ride hard through Tethia, so it takes 5 days from where you are. 4 days. It takes 4 days from where you are to get to Daramar. The quality of the roads isn't great, but Gregor doesn't tire that much. But the herald has to change at the various posts to get fresh horses and such like. You don't sleep massively. Neither does the herald. And you are taken through into Daramar. A large amount of the road follows the river, and as you kind of like riding along the river, you see a lot of the barge folk and the barge kind of people carrying goods to and fro along the river. The herald's quite quick to kind of cast dispersions about them. They're a necessary evil, is how he describes the barge folk. He doesn't consider them to be Tetherian at all, so it's kind of like, again, a little bit of latent kind of like racism kind of in there from him. And you're taken through Daramar. It's fairly early morning, kind of like 4 or 5 a.m. style when you're riding through the streets, so it's only merchants and caravans that are kind of around and about at the moment. Daramar's not lit in the same way that Waterdeep is lit, so it's still quite dark. There's a part moon, so Luna is not strong this night. And you're shown into the palace, which is really a castle in Daramar, in the royal quarter. And you're shown into Queen Anais' presence immediately. She's in her informal dress, kind of fairly loose-fitting. Not
Are you trying to seduce me?
not particularly well kept robes. They were fine in their day, but their day was probably when Chancellor Praxian was able to walk across a room.
During second edition.
In less than 20 minutes.
Yeah, the robes were bought under the first edition equipment list. In fact, hold on a minute, I can probably find the first edition equipment list. I've got my first edition player's handbook to hand. In fact, yeah, look, Chancellor Praxton in his youth.
I was just about to say.
In his youth.
Let me just the Visera is there. They are drinking what smells to be some form of quite strong alcoholic spirit, and her eyes are slightly kind of glazed. Darian, my hawk, and she kind of beckons you over.
It's a booty call, Darian. That's why you left so quickly.
I'm trying to equipping the character.
Yeah, so I just say my queen, and I do like a bio at the same time.
I see that you are still fresh from the road.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see the beads of sweat going down your forehead. I need a hero. It's going to be fresh from the fight. Clothing. Right, so a belt costs 3 silver pieces. This is more of a cloak, so it costs 5 silver pieces. 5 first edition silver pieces.
So it's vintage now. It's very expensive.
Yeah, now it is. Yeah.
Rift.
I need your aid as my Hawk of Alamander. A group of brigands, more organised and ruthless than usual, have been terrorising villages along the southeastern border of Terthia, the border with Kalimshan. This has stirred up monsters from the forest of Mir, spiders of great size, owlbears, creatures of that ilk. But these brand brigands have been much more destructive and murderous than usual. I suspect that they are supported by the Protectorate. We have little evidence of this, but that is where all evil comes. We've heard some reports that the brigands have been active in the Protectorate itself, but we think this is propaganda. We have no direct evidence of this. Our response has been patchy. This is the curse of Terthia. She kind of takes a swig of a drink. The brigands' attacks straddle 2 counties, several shires, and even outside of Terthia into the Protectorate, possibly into Kalimshan. There's no coordination. My nobles, my leaders, they only care about their patch and their impact. It does impact Lord Serkazar's lands, but it impacts the neighbouring ones as well. I need someone whose jurisdiction is as wide as the brigands' path, and I need you to achieve me 2 goals, Hawk. Make the attacks cease. Stop this predation upon the most vulnerable in my people, and find out who the originator is and bring them to royal justice. The most recent attack happened but a day before I summoned you, so 6 days, 5 days ago, in the village of Marion, right on the Kalimshan border in the county of Serkazar. I suspect the bandits have probably gone to their bases for the winter. But if you find them, spring a trap, or prepare to engage them in the field in the spring. She leans close into you. You can smell kind of the warmth of her breath on your cheeks. There's a cinnamon-like, kind of like flavour to her. If my nobles are unwilling or unable to help my people, then it is for their queen and her most capable and loyal servants, and she puts her hand on your knee, to serve our people. She meets your eyes.
So hand and do that up his leg.
Your eyes meet, and you see the tenderness and the genuine concern that lies beneath a sometimes austere exterior. I know you've come straight from the road, but it's back to that road that I'll ask you to go. Ride, my hawk. Ride and do as proud.
As you wish, my queen.
You rise. You say while you're down there.
So just on my way out then, I will ask for any reports of these brigands and I believe you said monsters as well to be forwarded to me.
She points to, and Sarah says, yeah, I'll get that sent on. Where shall I send it? It'll take a few days to compile.
It'll be the fort I'm posted at is where I'd like them sent.
Castle Luxar.
Yes. Ilkazar. Not Alamander.
No, that is your title, not your location. Okay, cool. And what are you doing then?
I guess I gotta make my way back. Is Colleen with me? And
Oh yeah. A couple of, not Colleen, a couple of the bodyguards went with you.
Okay. Yeah, I will just try to pretend it's not way to for that.
Pretend what? Sorry.
Try to pretend it's It's not a long journey just for a small sentence. There's no bluff, is there?
So what are you doing? Sorry.
It's quite a long way to come for a simple message.
Yeah.
So,
Oh right, you're trying to
so
not
I'm
look
trying to play it.
distasteful.
I'm trying to play it cool.
Such a roll against her insight.
This isn't good. No, it's not good. It's a 9.
So what is it that you're trying to hide? What, like a for fuck's sake, love? I thought this was important.
Yeah, well, it is important, but like,
Why couldn't you just tell your herald this?
why couldn't you just send a letter? I'm like,
Yeah, send a messenger because then you have to ride one way and not 1, 2, 3.
She doesn't seem to pay much heed, actually. She kind of looks back down in the glass and swirls it around.
okay.
It's because she just wanted to see you, Darian.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you only saw me for a minute.
That's how long she knows paladins last. All the paladin players are now turned off the stream. Yep, I can tell that there weren't actually any. They left at the lawful good jibes earlier on.
So yeah, I'll just I'll make my way back to. I won't even make it in time for the grand entrance now, will I?
Oh,
No.
I don't know. I mean, the grand entrance. So there's a 10 days of negotiations, and then whatever you guys choose to kind of like do, and you. So you'll make it back 5 days after the negotiations finished.
Yeah.
So let's just come back to the negotiations. So the next kind of main item on the agenda is the tax on the city that funds the Order of the Gauntlet, and you're kind of pushing back on that. Yeah, Diego. Okay, could you make the persuade roll for me?
20.
Yeah, okay. So you're firm in that tax it needs to be in place. It has to fund the borders. The Order of the Gauntlet are the best people to do this, and it kind of comes down to agree to disagree. This is a point of policy and principle rather than a point of sense. So whilst your will is carried, the podesta can go back, and you suspect he's going to go back and say, "I present it to the Count. He is unwilling to do this." He didn't really listen to any of your points and counterpoints.
Until the situation with the Zentara map is fixed.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not really willing to budge on that.
Yeah. Okay.
At the moment.
Yeah. Okay. So that takes the kind of like 10-day, and you have got kind of in another 10-day the entrance to the city planned. You can't just stroll into these things. It's a more auspicious time down, and they can get the games in place and get the infrastructure in place and the logistics in place for all of that kind of stuff, so they need a bit of time to do it. So you have got, in fact, it's probably more like 10 days to do that. So you'll probably do it in the festival at the end of autumn. I can't remember what the calendar is.
I've got Soulcode's Avengers Guide at hand.
I do. It's just here. But yes, that's a more auspicious day to. I think it's Harvestide actually.
Mm.
I think Harvestide is it would make sense. Time in the Realms slows down for Chancellor of Praxin. High Harvestide. So the festival of High Harvestide would coincide with when you would kind of get into the sea. Okay.
Oh, good.
Do you guys want to do anything before Darian returns?
Convince him to spend all the money on the Order of the Gauntlet on the Dragonborn instead.
You have a set of private meetings. Do you want to do that?
My only thing about that is if we are funding the Order of the Gauntlet and I can't remember what the guy who's leading it called, but who's dodgy.
Vindicator.
Vindicator.
Vindicator, something.
You are, if he is misappropriating them funds into the Zentarum or not using them how
As
we
they should
want,
be.
as
Why
they should
didn't-
be.
Why don't you
We
butt
are-
in and ask for some funds for setting up your Dragonborn and setting up their kind of protection rounds as the marshal?
Well, I've got some funds to begin with. Asking this, you'd have to tax the city more for that at the moment. I don't think that's palatable until they kind of are more familiar with Diego and the Dragonborn.
Mm.
Yeah, until you've done a few gigs.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, my only thing is, if we are funding, the Order Gauntlet, I suppose we don't want to tip them off that we're onto them, though, I suppose. So if you start cutting the funding, probably not just yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah, Darian do his work.
Okay, cool. Anyway, so the pedestrian is kind of a little delegation head back, kind of satisfied, kind of dissatisfied. Everybody feels like they've won something in the negotiation. How are you finding the 2.5K? For the entrance?
How are we funding it? Out of our funds.
So do you have 2.5K, Diego? Are you borrowing or taking or what have you?
Well, I
funds?
thought it was coming out of the gold that was sent to
To the Dragonborn.
Oh,
So
it's currently in Ox's back pocket.
Ox, do you want to give the Dark Blaze another 2,500?
I mean, I'll give them some, but
I mean,
No,
Danilo's
I'll come
taking
from
a
the
fair
top
chunk. He took about 20 grand of it, so he's got.
hey, you gonna borrow some of Uncle's money?
It'd be like trying to prize a ball from an angry spaniel.
An angry 7-foot spaniel who wields a fucking great sword.
That's from an angry scalpel.
Gail's Capello.
Every time Diego reaches for this gold pouch, it's like this low growl. Leave it.
I'll leave you to decide upon that. It doesn't need to be resolved quite yet. Ox, your Sulan is agitating. We are imposing quite a lot on the people of Green Nest. If we are so close to the lands that could have become ours, perhaps we should journey ahead and start to settle there. The weather is turning. We are reaching autumn.
Oh yeah.
Is there like much? Is there like a market? Is there much trade going through?
We do not know. We do not know what is there. We have been told around and about that it is an abandoned manor rather than a village in its own right. And the lands that we've been given are a virgin for us to build upon and to create our own.
No deflower. Good.
Yeah. Well, if we've got like at least 10 days, then we should probably scout the land a bit, check for any threats.
Search for traps.
We're not far from the border here, are we?
Well, no, actually, in the northwest of the county, you're a few days north of the border with Kellamsham, and a few days west of the border with the Protectorate.
Okay.
That's something. See, when Ox actually finally does set up his base of operations, there's going to be a lot of traps, like before they get to your main.
Bear traps everywhere. There's going to be a lot of reports coming in of people getting caught in bear traps on the main road.
Dragon traps.
Yeah. We'll scout around, have a look at the area, definitely try to get people settled. Because it's just going to be, it's almost going to be like a refugee camp to begin with.
So you basically have that
materials.
outside of Green Nest now, and this is Sealand's point. There's only so much food that the town can provide.
Yeah, so we're going to scout further afield to find more.
Yeah, and the kind of, whilst everybody was quite happy with the Champions of Chult and the Dragonborn heroes coming down, it's now starting to grate a little.
Yeah, so we'll move on from this village.
You're not going to enforce any nighttime Dragonborn stopping bad guys.
Really? Wow.
You're not going to stop it. Are you not going to get the Dragonborn to up the rounds of the guards in the town? It's a town, yeah.
Oh, it's a very small town.
Yeah.
Well, it's not particularly under threat. There's no great violence or anything.
Yeah, but the hoodlums.
Right? No, that's in Saradouche. That's in the city of Saradouche, not the town of Greenness.
Yeah, we're not going to Saradouche until Diego makes his entrance.
Never mind that.
Okay.
So
the it's about a day or 2 days for those that are really slow. Chancellor Praxton takes 56 years if it was to do it southeast of Greenest, and it nestles in the centre of the county. The roads are poor. The land is starting to get. It's still a bit rugged, and you kind of make your way with your people down towards it. So the land is known as Corio, Corrio, and more formally known as the Manor Carida, and it's all pastoral. So it's all pasture land. It's not especially cultivated as arable land or anything like that. And there's a river kind of runs through. So think kind of like the Yorkshire Dales. There's a cliff escarpment along one side as you make your way towards the lands. And there's a steep side into a valley, and then there's a broader shoulder that rises out from the river off to the other side. The widest river is quite sluggish, and the valley floor is quite flooded. There's a lot of marshland around. Your outriders say that it's kind of flush with beaver. There's a lot of beavers, and they've dammed the land. So you can get the pelts of the skins and such like, but it may take a bit of time to drain the waters down
Make
there.
good grub.
good land to agriculture there.
Possibly, yeah. The kind of broader shoulder, the fields are still waterlogged, but less waterlogged, so you kind of get up there. And there's clearly an old manorial settlement, so a fairly sizable old house, which is not much more than the kind of last few remnants of the stone walls around it. But it would have been a substantial manor house, and then you can see the kind of ditch that would have been around whatever wall or fence or what have you there may have been. There's a few logs around, so you suspect it was a timber palisade, and that's again quite large, very overgrown, lots of mossy growth. Like there's a patch which looks like it's herbs gone wild, so that maybe that was a herb garden past, but the whole thing is run down and overgrown. The escarpment is predominantly gritstone, so think kind of Stanage edge, Burbage edge, so you could kind of quarry that possibly. And it's slightly cooler here as well. So in summer, Tethir is 40 degrees. It's just roasting. It's not as harsh as the Chingal of Chul, but it's definitely kind of south of Spain weather. In the autumn, it drops down to more temperate, kind of like 20-ish, 25. So it's still warm by Northern European, by Waterdavian standards, certainly. But it's not as roasting. And even here, it's maybe 18 because of the marshland kind of like cools it down a little bit. Your front riders have gone ahead and they've done what they do. They've set up a military encampment. As you kind of like arrive, it's darker than the time that you arrive, and you have to pass the watchwords, and you have to pass through the various stages of the kind of gates, and it's not until the next morning that you kind of wake up to the regimented environment that you're in, that you realise that the paranoia that ordinarily hangs around and has hanged around the Dragonborn group, of which only 300 or so are Dragonborn in their journey south, is perhaps not necessary. This is going to become your home. This scene is where your lands will be founded. So is it necessary that your first act is to create such a defensive fortification, is to draw a demarcating line between you and them that you're protecting yourself from? And you look out into the weaker autumnal light, and the fog is slowly rising up from the valley, and you see the diffuse shapes and the cold that's hanging in the air. and the weak autumnal sun kind of casts its light through, and the sunbeams pick up various bits as the camp starts to come to life. And you do think to yourself, well, we wanted to reach out, we wanted to kind of embrace the people of this land. So our first act is a passive act of war. So maybe that's something. It's a dodge action by and large, which is about something that you need to educate and lead your people into. You also then very quickly realise that you've got a group of 500 people with no means of production for food. There's no, you can try to hunt, you maybe get some from the beaver and all that kind of stuff around here, but that's very, very quickly going to kind of dry up. So you're going to have to start to bring some of that money out of Saradouche over here, probably with some freight forwarding costs. I've lost you guys. Yeah, I've lost you guys.
Oh, he's back. And you're definitely still up on the stream. Is the stream okay? Is everything okay?
Yeah, the stream looks to be okay. Which it'll just hang when it gets reconnected because the stream is slightly behind. Well, there's the adverts which create some natural lag. So that's stopped, actually. The stream has stopped. So let me stop that. Yeah, okay. So I've disconnected. So let me start again.
And Josh, be ready to open up to sound check it again.
Just ask Dan if he's still there.
I think we just got DC'd. Can you let me know if you can hear us or etc. So why was I up to when I lost Jack?
You just said about not being able to feed X amount of people.
Yeah, so you might get some hunting of the beavers and such like, and that'll last a certain while. And you also know that there's not masses of surplus, and much of the surplus has been sold already, because it had been sold last spring. So you've got a problem of supplying these people. You've got money, and if you were to bring that money over to you, I'm sure the Dark Blades would be more than happy to oblige in for forwarding that money to you, with associated administration and handling fees.
Send your people this time, Alex. Send your people.
Yeah, okay, Dan's confirmed they can hear us, which is good. But that's a challenge that you kind of like need to work through. It takes you a few days to start to settle down and to start to get into a more rhythm. You've maybe got a week or so's food available to you from supplies that you're carrying. But the group is split in how best to address this. And then there's another group of Dragonborn join you, a smaller group, not much more than 15, but all Dragonborn of varying colours, but balanced towards chromatic, I guess. Yeah, so Dan's confirming it went down, but it's back up now, which is good.
Okay.
And she introduced herself as Resmia, the leader, a female black Dragonborn.
Ooh. Greetings.
Greetings, you are Ox, champion of Bahamut.
I am the Eternal Awful Lizard.
I am Resmia the Black. I am known to your brother Sulan and to the cleric of Bahamut and to the Purple Dragoons. They will know me as being effective, but perhaps a lone wolf. I'm a war leader, as I think we all have to be in this land. She's got a whacking great sword that she kind of like wears, but she's not wearing plate armor or anything like that. She's wearing more of a tunic than anything else. I come to join your endeavour.
We are grateful for all who wish to join our endeavour, but we are not at war in these lands at present.
And that is why I do not feel to come dressed as if I am at war.
That's an excellent point.
I come with my people, and I come with resources. I come with a suggestion that I think is perhaps the most valuable. I have met on my travels the Sheriff Greenhilt in Greenest.
Mm-hmm.
And I am strongly of the view that we should put our people to work on the infrastructure of the county in this area first. Create a well-planned, well-constructed road from Greenest through to Saradouche. Let us work through the winter. It is mild for most dragonborn here. I know the natives consider it will be cold, but it will not be a detriment to us. And in the spring, they will have a more effective route to take their goods to market. We will have brought prosperity to the lands, and we will also be able to have a communication channel to the brains of the county.
Well, great minds think alike, because I'd also considered this. The gritstone around here may be useful. We could grind it down, create more solid infrastructure. Trade routes would benefit us greatly.
And as a gesture of my faith in you and these people, I will fund this endeavour out of my own pocket, which I will grant as the tribe's wealth.
And what would bring such an act of generosity? What do you want from this?
A shared goal. Make Dragonkind great again.
Can I insight check? 14?
She is passionately honest.
Okay. I'll stick out my mailed hand to shake.
She sticks out her female hand.
I meant mailed as in plate mail.
I know exactly what you meant. But Martin, as soon as you said that, it was like, Paul's going to say females.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll shake. We have an accord.
With your 3 fingers and your thumbs.
They're 4. 4.
No, we went over this. We looked at the books, didn't we?
Well, 3 fingers and a thumb.
Yeah.
She looks around for the like slightly aged Honda. But we can't see the Honda Accord. We do. So you're going to get that domain downtime for free, essentially. So whichever one would be relevant, like the creation of infrastructure domain downtime. So in the autumn downtime phase that you're going to hit, the domain downtime phase, you get that one for free.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm going to have to find food to fund these people and all the workers and everything like that.
Yeah. She helps solve that problem a little bit as well, because she has connections in Arm, and though it will be expensive, so it'll cost more 900 gold a week than 750 gold a week, she can ship down surplus meats and wheat to the camp.
Okay.
If you were a kind of like Indian takeaway, this would be meat curry. It's perhaps not exactly identifiable what the meat is, but it's definitely protein.
I don't think Dragon Ball will care.
Well,
what was her name again?
Where there's beavers, there's fish.
Resmere the Black. Yeah, where there's beaver, there's fish.
Yeah.
Wheat feed. Okay. Darian, you arrive back at Greenest, which is en route to Castle Lucasar. In any case, Diego is still there. Tefnaka is still there. She's prowling around, again, in boredom and frustration. She's taken to kind of like just playing slightly mean pranks on people, because it just amuses her. And anybody that demonstrates that they aren't that fond of her, she just spends masses of time with because she's a cat.
She'll push one some of their favourite things to the edge of the sky.
Yeah. When she's bored, just pushes it.
Yeah.
And then she just stares up at Diego.
I suggest that she played pranks on the Podesta.
And the Possessor's long gone. He's had to go back to Saradouche to sort stuff out.
I'm like, you know that man that was here? Definitely annoy him.
She doesn't, because she's a cat. And Ox is not there, and neither is his forces.
Oh.
I miss everyone.
Diego's like, Darian! It's been 3-story arcs since we were separated. I can't cope with this.
Yeah, on Darian's long ride back, he was thinking, it's like, I wonder if I should get Ox some pickled meats. Black dragons like pickled stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so the nights passed in wonder for Darian the Paladin as he rode back from seeing the Queen at Deramar.
Yeah, what a waste of time that was.
That's treason. I think you should arrest yourself.
She wanted more than just to talk to you. And you completely blanked her.
She said for me to ride back, so...
No, she said, can you ride me on my back? When the official minutes come out, Darren's like, fuck. Okay, so you get back there to...
Diego.
You meet with Diego.
Yeah.
You see Chancellor Praxton puts down the cup that you saw him walking across the table in the room with when you left.
When you left.
I think I need to go to the toilet. I'll see you in midsummer.
I'll see you in a 10-day. So we go,
So you just look meaningfully at each other.
Yeah. So like, what happened to Ox's forces, and did I miss the plans? What are we doing for your arrival?
Oh, Ox's. I'd narrate what Ox taken some business at the borders. I've missed you. How's the Queen?
Fine. It wasn't anything.
Oh, I mean, other than the fact that the brigands in your county play merry hell with your people, it was nothing. I didn't find much out.
She could have sent a letter. Is all I'm saying.
But it could have been intercepted.
Okay. So are you going to reveal your news to the Count?
Reveal what to the Count?
That there are brigands ravaging his villages in the south.
Yeah.
Why is Darian just playing it cool for everything now?
I know,
this is just like passive aggressive, pissed off. This is how many days travel? How many days travel for literally 30 words of dialogue, if that?
Well, maybe if you succumbed to her advances, it'd have been a more worthwhile trip.
Well, I tell you what, this is the last time that I asked Martin to pop down to Sheffield to have a quick chat. Lesson learned, Paul. Lesson learned.
But yeah, I say the Queen's tasks me with rooting out some brigands that have been ravaging the southeast. Yeah, the southeast.
I think at this point, because like Diego spent like however many days constant. It's like, when do we go?
Diego summons Gregor, rise him out the window.
Yeah, so I've got to do that. Apparently, they'll be settling for the winter, or they'll be setting up an encampment for the winter.
Well, then we must go soon.
Possibly be less active.
Take a point of inspiration for the eagerness there, Diego.
I'm not quite sure what kind of action I want to take yet. And then Darren looks around. I'm like, who? Is there anyone else around, really?
Danilo has emerged from wherever he hid whilst the people were around, and he's around and about. You can feel, you know immediately as soon as you enter the keep at Green Nest, you immediately recognise the fact that Danilo is there, because everybody is slightly nervous.
Hello, Uncle. How are you?
No, it's not. It's not like there,
not there,
but you know,
but-
his influence is felt around. Everybody's just that little bit more on edge, that little bit more concerned that they're doing it perfectly right. Sheriff Greenhill is. You've overstayed your welcome. Kind of, he was really pleased for you to kind of go. He was less pleased when he realised that you being there meant Danilo was there. He was really pleased when Danilo left. He's now not pleased when Danilo has come back. It's like, a slightly awkward grandma at Christmas, hanging around, criticising, eating all the good dates.
I mean, a grandma that can
I mean, like,
kill you quite easily.
Whenever Danilo steps into a room, there's like silence. But Diego's like, hello.
Yeah,
Just breaks the awkward air, but just makes it even more awkward.
Yeah. Danilo will just look at you with his black on black eyes, with a kind of.
If Danolo's presence is palpable, then it'll be like, I have some plans that I will think of.
Yeah. So he's in the building, or has been in the building
I
somewhere.
don't care if he's within like
Okay.
miles of me. Then then I'm not discussing.
So what do you want to do now, guys? Okay, then. So we're not in scene time anymore. What are the actions? So you told Diego. Diego's really eager to get going. We'll probably want to take his marshal down there. I would imagine, given his attacks upon his people.
Yeah, do we send word? Do we send I want to say carrier pigeon to Ox or something like that? But
Carrier pigeon. That pigeon is
a
going to
messenger.
Yeah, you can dispatch a messenger.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Meet us in the south.
The south.
So the village of
Where?
Marion is.
Yeah, I was gonna
is what you
say.
know.
Oh.
Pick a point on the map, Diego, not just the general direction.
Yeah, just meet us. Yeah.
But I just normally I just ask Adran, and he just takes us.
I say that way, and then he gets us there.
Take us to where we need to be for plot to be advanced. Thump. The village of Marion. So essentially, the network of sheriffs will be able to say, "Oh, that's in this sheriff's jurisdiction." So he'll be able to give you like a ranger or a guide, essentially.
Okay. After we're on the road, I want to say that I kind of want us to go as kind of a medium-sized car, or like appear like a medium-sized caravan.
What's a medium-sized caravan? I don't know any caravans.
People, or
Basically, just
we're
appear
talking
to
two
be,
digits.
no, appear to be trading a caravan of trading merchants of big enough size that bandits would want to attack, but small enough size that the merchants might not hire too many guards.
Okay.
Well, surely they would love to.
So you want to go in disguise?
Yeah.
If we didn't go in disguise, though, and I go in like full jeweled up to the nines, surely they'd be more inclined to say, "Ooh, nobility, let's get him."
Yeah, but they're like also like this is three of the people who ended the death curse. I don't for them.
Yeah. If I see the count of the county going out and about, and word gets out, they might throw too many of us at once to deal with. Whereas if we are in disguise, we can pick them off small groups at a time.
I was
Plus,
thinking
I would quite like for like villagers and towns to know that I'm out and I will.
I'm out
sort
and I'm
things
proud.
out.
Yeah.
Out and about, and I'll sort shit out.
Oh, and would you invite Tef? You'd be like, oh, there's some bandits hunt, fun stuff.
Yeah, I totally would. Because she needs to let off some steam.
She needs to lacerate some people.
Yeah.
Disembowel.
But as long as, it's people who deserve it.
So Tef's going.
Yep.
Darian plus bodyguards.
Colleen, because he's basically my shadow.
Mm-hmm.
I've started teaching them some different music.
Yeah, he's into the Smiths.
The Smiths?
Yeah, he's a big Morrissey fan. Actually, he thinks Morrissey's a twat, but he really loves Johnny Marr. The other bodyguards are into the Eagles.
We got a bit of Queen going,
No, nobody's into the Queen. So Darren, bodyguards, Tef, Diego, are you going to take any militia or anything?
Can we get ox and people?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
Herald
Ox.
arrives from Green Hill. To you, Ox, your presence is requested back in Green Nest.
Is that all it says? Is it?
There
What
is
do you
talk.
guys
There is
say?
talk of forming a war band to oust some brigands in the south.
Okay, so I'll leave Sulan behind to carry on organising things. I think I'll take Resmir with me
Okay.
because she seems cool.
Yeah.
That's a love interest
You
to
would be a
Ox in
good
the
person
future, I
to leave
think.
in command, though.
Huh?
She would be a good person to leave in command.
What about
See
that-
if your orders are
I
totally
get the feeling she'd want to fight.
What about that silver
Probably-
dragonborn lady you were dancing with in the?
She's not dressed for a fight.
I know,
I don't
but
think she was
I'm
a
talking
warrior.
about love interests.
I did have a name somewhere. There was one, yeah. She was green, wasn't she?
Silver.
Was it silver?
She's now green with envy, but she was she was silver.
Kabifa. Or Kabif.
Yeah. So you're in bed when the herald arrives. So you're like, I might take Resmir, and you get an elbow in your ribs.
Yeah.
All the dragonborn ladies must be throwing themselves at you.
All the Dragonborn ladies. All the Dragonborn ladies.
I don't know how big,
I mean, how big your harem's going to be? Or...
no, how big a war band are you envisaging?
It's a medium-sized caravan.
Yeah, and it's Darren in the bit.
It's exactly like.
And subtlety is key.
Is that a static that sleeps four? I don't know.
Subtlety is key, is what I'm saying.
Take an inspiration for that, Ox. This is exactly like when Andy says, "Can you go out and get me some chocolatey nice things as a treat?"
You're like, what?
Do you know, by the way, Ben, that your house is getting burgled progressively behind you?
Yeah.
It just keeps passing by.
Like carrying stuff. I assume there's like a tranny van with its doors open and all your stuff in. I mean, I admire your commitment to the stream, but yeah.
He's just gone out the door. Sofa.
This is where you should see, like.
It's clearly not something that's important, but it would be so funny to have a counter for every time she.
I might, if I have time when I edit this, I might just do that. I just have like an overlay with a number on.
Counter in the side.
Yeah.
So,
I just thought I'd point that out. Public service announcement. It's when Ben gets carried out and we just see
Yeah.
into the back of the transit van drives off. Ben's still like rolling d20s. Yeah, I got a 26 on the persuasion roll.
Rogue bullshit, so I don't have to roll 20.
Yeah. He gets fenced. So what's happening, Doc? Sorry, I've lost completely.
Dragonborn.
I was trying to find a name. Who was the leader of the Red Dragonborn who joined? I can't remember his name.
I can't remember. Let's just say it's John.
I'll take Resmir and him. I'll find his
Esme
name.
plus John.
It wasn't John. Oh,
Yeah, but for the purpose of not stalling the game too much.
yeah,
What's a
Okay.
dragony version of John?
it's the dragon version of John.
Johan.
Maybe.
Right. Okay. Cool. And how many squaddies?
What, just general squaddies?
Yeah.
Two, so there's 5 of us in total.
5.
bring.
Okay. So you would be at the moment 5, 10, 13. I think that's small, medium.
Yeah. I'd agree.
I mean, I haven't got my Forgotten Realms Guide to Caravan Size with me. In fact, I only got a PDF copy. Okay.
Faerun caravans.
Faerunian caravans. Maybe you should
Caravanning round Faerun. With Michael Portillo.
If it was on BBC Four, Andy would watch it.
Been biking it.
I can't help but think that we're low on adventure in this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was called Grax. I found it.
Grax, yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. He only answers the name John now, though. Weirdly.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And the plan is what, to pretend to be a caravan of merchants.
I think the Dragonmon will stay fairly hidden. Why does it give a game away?
You dress up as horses and pull the caravan.
Yeah.
So it will generally take a few hundred gold pieces to form that. I mean, you're in the harvest, so wagons and such like are highly utilised at the moment. Greenness isn't a substantial kind of community. So you are taking away from their ability to bring the harvest in if you just kind of jog down. So some recompense for the monies otherwise lost would be appropriate. Sheriff Greenhilt says, looking after the welfare of his people first and
How much
foremost.
gold?
Probably a couple of hundred.
What? You can buy like a number of horses for that much?
Not in Greennest at this point in time. You can't. The price is a couple of hundred gold.
Well, we'll buy it because
I will pay
we'll
that.
want it for the future. So would he intend to keep it afterwards?
I'm not sure what kind of shape this is back in.
Well, you can fix it.
So long as it doesn't come back as a parallelogram, they're kind of fairly cool. What kind of shape it comes back as?
I expect Darren to healing hands this.
He couldn't fix
to lay on
Apraxin's
hands
back.
It's wood.
And for the record, Apraxin's hemorrhoids are still there, and Darren's been cleaning his hands quite a lot. Okay. Okay, so you write down the scout shows you the route, the best route to take. As you head south, the pastoral land kind of continues, but it becomes more arable, and you do find that there's more vineyards, more kind of olive farms. I don't know, oliveries. I don't know, olive groves. And it's more coming kind of like think spaghetti western style terrain, not the cactus and such like, but that dry kind of terrain, and the warmth is much more palpable as you kind of move down. There are large, deep drainage ditches by the roads, and there are also milestones that now start to become prevalent. There's almost a change in the architecture from, think of it like a European style architecture in the north through to a more kind of Middle Eastern, Moroccan-y style architecture as you kind of get towards the south. So, for instance, the churches of Shantia, and every village has a shrine to Shantia. They've started to get gargoyles, which are like mismatched animals, rather than kind of like your winged beast, but they call it on the corners of the temple. This seems to be a very Kalishite style tradition. And it kind of, the buildings are much more kind of white painted as you kind of move further down there. You do what most merchant caravans do. You stop at the taverns and the inns and such like. How incognito are you intending to be?
I guess we want to have stuff to sell.
Well, I don't want the Dragonborn or the men to make an appearance. I suppose we could venture outside of the caravans if we're not wearing armor, but...
Yeah, but we could
Darren's never taken his
hidden.
off, so he stays in the caravans. There's no way Darren will take his armor off.
No. And plus, Darian, I mean, he's not that famous, but he might be recognised.
The biggest problem really is the Dragonborn, because
Yeah.
it's not like the internet exists
They'll
and
get
pictures
really
you as that
complacent
from the
as well.
world.
Well, they could be out and about when the caravans.
Yeah. And you meet with the kind of local sheriff. You're shown to the local sheriff. He's a shifty guy. Oh, my lord, my lord Darkblade. I did not expect to see you. I was intending to go to Circazar to pledge my fealty of the Shire.
We will be there soon.
So you wish to go to the village of Marion that was hit badly by the brigands. But it is best that you see rather than I say.
Do you have any reports of possible whereabouts?
We are farming people. We retreated to. I took the Shire's militia out, but by the time I arrived there, they were gone. I moved at a praxin pace.
That's what it's known throughout.
That's a unit of measurement.
That's how it's known throughout Tithia. Doing something as slowly as it's possible to do without looking like you're not doing it.
Yeah.
Everybody else calls it teenage pace, but here it's a praxin pace.
Praxin pace.
You start to move towards the to the village. And village in this context is no more than 15 or 20 houses around a central point. And the sheriff will tell you they are just farmers. They're farmers of some of the fields around. They grow. There's an orchard, and they produce the lemons. There's some common grazing under the eaves of the forest of Mere. You're quite close to the forest here, actually. You can kind of see it off a little bit in the distance, and deeper in the forest, there's the charcoal burners, and there's a lot of charcoal burning throughout this area as you on the edge of the forest, and you've got this like bit of a tang in the air as you move down. Normally, the bells of the Shrine of Chantier would ring to alert the people of the attack, but that can't have been the case here. But again, you'll find out. The village is eerily quiet. There's not animals or birds. Now, every village you've entered into, there's been the bird song, or there's been chickens scratching around, or dogs, or cats, meow, 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 I guess, or pigs.
So has the village been like decimated?
There are no bodies to be found at all, the sheriff says. There are no bodies. There are no pools of blood. All the
Any
living,
survivors?
none that we have found. All of the living creatures. The communal bakery, the mill, the brewery, they've all been looted of foodstuffs, blankets, clothes, that kind of thing. But valuables were left behind. The village communal hall where the communal monies, the plate at the shrine, all left. And you get into the village, and it is exactly that. It is amongst the quietest area and place that you've ever seen or been.
This seems too well done to just be brigands.
There's a well in the centre. So you've got 15 houses, all dirt. But it's worn dirt in the centre, and you can see the worn paths between the houses, and you can see that the gardens are reasonably well tended, and you can see that, like a lot of areas, the animals would have been housed pretty close to the household, such that the most of the houses are 2 stories, and the bottom layer is where the animals would be brought in the winter to provide with warmth and all that kind of jazz. And there is absolutely nothing living here.
Let's drop a divine sense just because.
Okay. And
Good
you are
sense,
trying to. What would happen?
Well, I suppose the main thing I'm looking for is desecrated ground. It would be one of the things that would ping. But basically, any strong, I think it's any strong unholy or holy objects. resonate with me. Here it is, Divine Sense. Yeah, so for the presence of strong evil is like a noxious order, powerful good rings like heavenly music. But it's only within 30 feet.
You don't sense anything, but other than you don't sense anything, but the disquiet sticks with you. As you're kind of looking around and investigating, you hear cavalry, and you see a dust trail coming up from the south. The sheriff looks and says, "I don't know who that could be," and then he goes, "Ah." And then the shapes as they ride towards you, there's 10 mounted figures. They resolve into an armoured, liveried company. They've got a blaze of red that looks like a raising flame on their breastplates, and they're wearing lamellar armour, so like bands of metal around.
Would any of us recognise this colour work on?
Ox, you've served as mercenary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you recognise it as being Kalishite, so from Kalimsham.
Okay. I'll whisper that to Diego.
The leader, and they've kind of got lancers, and they raise their lancers. The leader kind of like rides forward. "Make yourselves known. I know you, Sheriff."
I am Count Diego Darkblade, Chimera Saradouche, and Count of Circazar. Who the fuck are you?
The figure who's got kind of like a red tassel kind of like attached to his shoulder, whereas the others don't. There's one with a yellow tassel, but the rest don't have anything on that nature. His horse goes, "My lord." He dismounts and kind of immediately kind of like gets down on the knee before you. "I am Captain Imric's Sunrunner of the Kalishite Caliph Army, the Sun Legion." Imric's Sunrunner. "I beg your pardon for venturing into your territory, but we came to offer aid when we were made aware that there had been an attack on this village." Darian, you notice that he bears a symbol of Lathander on a chain around his neck.
Very good. See, the way that the Queen described it, I swear I was expecting something a lot bloodier.
Yeah, we found no evidence of a struggle.
My scouts reported evidence of an attack, and we rode from our base just over the border to see what aid we could provide.
Well, firstly, I'll thank you for your swift arrival.
It is a few days old, but we came as soon as the news was made known to us. The sheriff is like shifting his feet, his weight across his feet. He's not happy with the Kalashite being here.
No, of course not. From what we've seen, there's been no signs of struggles, sign of survivors, blood, no sign of a struggle either.
I have seen this scene twice before, Count. The same group, and in recent time, the other occasions where the brigands have attacked, they have had a more traditional, I would guess. One of those villages was within my own country. The other was further east.
I get an insight check on this guy.
What are you inciting?
Is he being completely truthful?
Yeah, go for it.
It's a 12.
He is being deferential, and honest.
Well, I'm convinced.
Some of
What
his
do I
men,
know of this? You said because I've the Callum chat. What do I know of them? Well, I've heard.
so
maybe
Kalimsham is a big country which is largely desert, but has the biggest city in Faerun located in Kalimport. They've got substantial resources. The predominantly trading nation. Their warriors there's variable quality. Some of them are very professional, very well trained, very capable. Others are like militias, conscripts, what have you.
Not like a warring nation, though, constantly at
They're
war at the
belligerent.
borders.
No, there's always border skirmishes around the Kalimsham. So Tethia is technically in a state of war with Kalimsham.
Okay. I'm not sure I trust them, but seems a bit convenient than to be here right now. I'll introduce myself. I'm Ox, the Marshal of Circazar.
A black sheriff?
The Black Sheriff.
You say your scouts reported
That is correct.
an attack.
Yes, that is correct.
Where are your scouts with you now?
No, we are a patrol. My scouts range far and wide.
And why did you have scouts this side of the border?
We are eagle-eyed martial ox.
And what exactly did they say when they said attack?
They said that a troop of brigands that we have known to be operating along the border, who do not care for national boundaries, had massed and entered this area.
Surely, if you've known of them, you would have. Why has something not been done sooner?
Who is
They've
their
clearly
leader?
been known to you.
We are doing what we can.
Does
count.
this brigand have a...
I have in my capture 2 of the brigands. I cannot really enter your lands and do what I wish, and they use that advantage keenly and well. Where they come and attack our place, they drift across to yours. Where they attack yours, they drift across to mine.
So I'll step forward now and I'll say, my name is Darian and I am the Hawk of Alamander.
He's okay.
The eyes of a hawk.
Hi. Yeah, he's a kind of well met.
So I have jurisdiction over. Am I right in saying I have jurisdiction over the border of this area, like in both area in?
No, the Order Gauntlet doesn't extend this far south.
Okay. Well, if you would see these brigands be stopped and put down, would you allow us to assist in your investigation of these criminals?
I'm more than happy to for you to assist us. In what way would you offer assistance?
Well, you can see that we have a good, strong few men who ride with us. We ourselves are very proficient on the battlefield, and it would do everyone a service to get rid of these brigands. Would you allow us to interrogate them, or
You want to
do
take
interrogations?
one of my prisoners to extract information from them?
Or go with you?
No, you are not allowed
assist
in my
the
country.
investigation?
It would be an act of war,
What are you doing here right now, then?
aiding your people because you are not able to as of yet.
And you've not been able yet to. I throw that comment right back in his face, really.
Yeah, because he just said he got attacked. His own settlement got attacked earlier.
He's in the same predicament as us, if
Yeah.
he's being truthful.
It is a fair point. But we cannot allow you to enter into the territory of the Caliph.
Then bring one of these prisoners here.
Ah. I'm intending to send the prisoners to my superior, but I could release one into your detention. In exchange, I would like to be granted permission to interview an escaped slave who I understand is settled in Circazar about some events that are alleged to have taken place this spring in Kalimshite territory. I would not ever seek to return him to his rightful owner, but I do have some questions pertaining to a murder.
Well, if you give us his name, we will therefore make a search for him.
Then I will release the prisoner to you, but it will take a little bit of time.
I'm glad you started speaking, Diego, because I was so ready to start fighting this guy. Because it's like, I want to allow you to enter. I'm like, I'm not sure you could stop us, actually, was what was going through my mind.
Oh, are you going to invade Kalimshan?
No, I was just going
Yeah,
I'm not sure you could stop us,
Okay.
but that never happened, so it's fine.
So how long will this trade take?
A few days. How long will it take for you to find this individual?
Depends who it
A
is.
bit longer, really.
It'll be longer. We'll need to set up, and with the questioning, could we ask that the questioning be carried out in Circazar?
I will release the prisoner to you. What you choose to do with them is
No.
your
You're
own
questioning of the
concern.
former slave.
Yes. I would expect that to be the case.
Just so we're clear. But yeah.
That's a great point. Diego does not condone slavery.
Yeah, and he said he wasn't wanting to
Turn into a slave.
return him to his old master. But so if he's questioning Circazar, he's probably not.
Even if he kills him, he can't
Fingers
return him.
crossed. Yeah, true.
I see that you have this in hand, and I see that whilst we are being careful around each other, the presence of me and my troop is unsettling. I can understand that. If I found you in my lands, I would perhaps feel the same. I will tell you that the cracked ground, and he points to the dirt, and you can see now you look at it, you just thought it was maybe parched, and the whole weirdness of the situation kind of meant that you didn't quite take everything in. But you see now that there's kind of like cracks through the main square around the well. Like if you've got like dirt and you push up through it and it cracks on the surface, it looks a little bit like that. He says, Earth is slow moving. For it to crack like that is like you or I shouting in panic at the top of our lungs, frenetic with fear that our children are being put to the sword or some such other catastrophe. The message that Earth wants to send to you must be dire, if only it could be understood.
If only.
If only we had a druid.
Now I am of the fire, and we consume everything too quickly to know what the earth says. But that is all that I can offer to you. And he kind of turns and he speaks in a really sibilant kind of language that none of you guys understand. It's all. It sounds like when you get a hot plate and you flick water onto it, and it sounds like that, and they kind of form up into a cavalry. We will make haste back to the border, and we will do nothing further in your lands. And he wheels.
Apart from bring the slave to us. Bring the...
That will be arranged, and he wheels around, and the sheriff is like, "Oh, don't bother coming back."
Sheriff, you seem to have met this man.
We have innumerable disputes over the border. He's not the worst Kalimshite that I've ever had to deal with.
Pretty shite.
But
I want to see. Are they all ridden off now then?
They're in the process of riding off. You're in the process of getting covered by dust from them riding off.
After they ride off,
The international symbol for riding off.
I want to kind of like follow some of the horse tracks and see. Obviously, they'll have gone away, but I want to see where when they came in. Horse tracks, see if there's anyone. I just want to see if they were like in the area.
Survival check.
Survival check. For example, were they
only we had a
hanging
ranger
about waiting? I know.
Yeah, if only we had a ranger.
Oh, that's all right. 16. I want to see if obvious the horses came directly here from somewhere else and happened upon us, or whether they'd kind of been hanging about expecting someone to show up.
Okay, and what did you get? 16.
16.
Okay, so there's a couple of things you find. You don't find any tracks of their particular shod horses. The route in was the route that they came when they were when you saw the dust trail. The route out was the route that they went when you saw the dust trail, and it's kind of mashed over the way that they came in. But there are older tracks, and you wish that you'd paid attention to your friend Adran that one time he tried to show you how to follow these tracks, but you too busy. I got to knock down this fucking wall, Adran. I don't have time to listen to this ranger bullshit. It's not like there's ever going to be a situation where you're not with us. Yes, I suspect exactly what Ox said, and then you probably said, "Come on, Zook, let's pretend you're a cat, and we'll do help me."
Yeah. Okay.
But there are like tracks to and fro and around and about that aren't the tracks of a farmer going out to his field and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Are they horse tracks though, or are they just?
Some of them are horse tracks. Yeah.
But it's nothing initially suspicious, but it's just...
It is suspicious because there's more traffic than a village of 15 houses would support, and some of it goes like straight across the fields. Some of the crops are destroyed, and that's not something that any farmer or anybody who respects farming would do.
But
they go straight across the border.
They look like
you're kind of like another half hour, 45-minute ride. Steady ride from the border, so you're within Tathir on the border, but not like the line doesn't run through here. It's not like half in Tathir, half in Kalansham.
See, next time we encounter someone, maybe Diego should introduce himself as another alias, pretend one important to see how they react first, and then introduce yourself as a noble.
Excellent idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you should take off the hat that says, "I am noble, look at me."
How about no?
Okay, we're running up towards 28 minutes past the hour of 11.
Yeah.
So I'm inclined to leave it there in the village where,
Mystery.
Yeah.
Something weird.
I'm like, Darian's convinced it's slimes. Like, there's no way this is a bandit job.
Well, they were all making slime and it went wrong.
Well, no. Why are there jewelry and all their earthly possessions not taken?
So
fleshy
There were
well,
taken.
as you kind of go through and do a bit more investigation, there are some of the places that have been a little bit ransacked and valuables have been taken. Obvious valuables, though, have been left. So you go into the Shrine of Shantir, and there's
been no death. No sign of bloodshed, no sign of fight.
Disintegration is death.
I'm suspicious of this well with all the cracks stuff around it as well.
So, on this note, we'll leave our adventures there. This has been a rambunctious, swashbuckling session of high fantasy and low economics. So thank you to everybody who has watched and will watch this. The next Circazar game, so the next Titles and Troubles game, where we will find out what the crack is with the village, or these guys are going to give up and wait until they can interrogate a prisoner. That's always fun. Paladins interrogating prisoners. If ever there is a more awkward role-play situation. And we next play at 8:30 p.m. GMT on the 22nd of November. I think that's right. No, the 23rd of November, Friday the 23rd. But if you're interested in more roleplay from us, plus one or two others in a more traditional Dungeons and Dragons style, using fantasy grounds and kind of like we're running Waterdeep Dragon Heist every other Tuesday, with the next session being Tuesday the 13th, which will start again probably more 8 o'clock than 8:30, and probably run more till 11 than 11:30 on account of it being a weeknight. But thank you everybody for watching, and great stuff. So that's me. Anything to add, Ox?
Thank you for joining.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. I gotta find the button that stops everything. Bye bye.